Coming up, Chris the Brain Kacvinsky from Bulletproof Action is on, and we're going to be looking at Lethal Lady's Return to Savage Beach, so the final in the Sidaris film. So stay tuned for that. That'll be coming up in just a bit. Then next week, Freddie Young from Full Moon Reviews is on. We'll be looking at Punisher Warzone, so that'll be coming up next week. This episode here is cleaning out the month of, or ending the month of, not cleaning out the month, ending the month of September 4th. So already like I was talking about, kind of crazy. We're already finishing the month there. And then in terms of DTVC Extra, this Thursday we're going to start the Die Hard series. So I'll be looking at numbers 1, 2, and 3. Already seen 1 and 2, so we're going to see if I can get number 3 in time for that, and then we'll record that Thursday to go up Thursday night. So keep an eye out for that. And then 2 weeks after that, we will do what are those, 4 and 5? What are they? Live Free and Die Harder? I don't remember what they were called, but whatever. We'll do those. They're all on Hulu. They went from Paramount Plus to Hulu. So yeah, definitely something I'll mention there as well. And then in terms of the site, this Saturday we close out the month of September with Wanted Man, a Dolph Lundgren movie that we discussed with Mitch from the Video Vacuum on a previous podcast episode relatively recently. And we plan to have Mitch back on as well in the coming weeks. We'll be looking at Animal Instincts, the erotic thriller. So keep an eye out for that as well. But this week we'll be looking at Wanted Man. So that'll set us up so that first weekend of November we'll be able to do Showdown at the Grand for Dolph's birthday. So we'll try to get that one up there as well. I think that'll catch us up in terms of his DTV stuff, other than things like Small Apartments and the like. But what is it? Small Apartments and Fat Slags, I think, are the two DTV ones that we've never really gotten around to. Small Apartments I've just never done. I don't know why I've never done that one, but yeah, maybe someday I'll get around to it. I think Sean Malloy from I Must Break This Podcast, I believe he did cover it on a podcast episode. I don't know if he did Fat Slags, but he did do, I know he did do Small Apartments, I remember that one. But yeah, I don't know if we'll ever get around to that, but we'll see. But at least, that's the plan, is Showdown in the Grand in November. But yeah, October, of course, that is our Hall of Fame induction month, right? So we're going to do Wanted Man. You'll notice on the upcoming reviews watched letterbox list that I have Lights Out listed after Wanted Man. Plan to stick Lights Out aside. So we're going to do this movie we're talking about today, Lethal Lady's Return to Savage Beach. That will be reviewed in the middle of the month, just to give it some time between the podcast episode. But we're going to be getting Andy Sidaris and Donna Spear in the Hall of Fame, so plan on looking for those Hall of Fame inductions. And then when you get Jesse V. Johnson in, we'll be looking at the movie Chief of Station, so look out for that one there. So I know that's kind of one that I think people have been wanting to do for a while. I've been meaning to do that one. I've had this mindset that I was going to do Chief of Station after I did Boudica and Hell Hath No Fury, because I'm kind of catching up on all of those. But it's just one of those things that you just it's time. Let's skip ahead. Let's get Chief of Station in there. That's a good. I think it's going to be a good Hall of Fame induction post for him. And then also Keone Waxman, another one that we're looking to get in the Hall of Fame. So kind of just looking at them with their director credits. I think there's a plan to maybe do. It used to be I would only do one director a year. When I was doing Hall of Fame induction posts, and so then you'd think like Sidaris might have been that one this year. But I was just looking at the numbers for the two of them, and I thought they're close to. At this stage, they're close to, or they should be in. They're kind of close to that 15 number, which I think 15 is probably going to be the 30. So for actors, right, 30 is automatic induction, or for like a distributor like Asylum, that's automatic induction. It's called the Asylum rule because of the Asylum. Essentially, the Asylum forced us to put them in the Hall of Fame because I just reviewed so many of their movies, because I had so many movies that had people we knew in them and things like that. So it's the Asylum rule. So I think for directors, probably 15 is probably that number, and those two are close to that. So it's like, why don't we just get them in? So the Keone Waxman we're going to do is Countdown with Lori Petty. So look for that one as well. So in the month of October, look for those. I think that still leaves us one open because Sidaris and Donna Spear are going to be in the same movie because she has file footage, or she has old footage from previous movies in Return to Savage Beach. So they're going to be in the same movie. So it's only going to leave us with 3 that we need to do. So that's going to leave us some openings for October. So I think one extra movie that we can do there. So we'll see where we go there. One plan that I had for November. So obviously we're going to do Dolph's post on the first weekend of November, right? Because that's his birthday. It's going to be around his birthday. So we'll do that. But there's 5 Saturdays in November. So we have some space there. One idea I had, kind of a crazy Grinchy idea, is early 2000s DTV sequels of like kind of late 90s, early 2000s, like, thriller kind of movies. So, like, for example, like Wild Things, like the Wild Things sequel, or the Cruel Intentions sequel. What were the other ones? Cruel Intentions sequel, the American Psycho sequel, and the Single White Female sequel. So that was an idea that I had. So he's kind of doing those sequels all in November there like that. So we'll see. We'll see if I can make that happen, and we'll do that. Yeah, and then in terms of me being on other people's stuff, look for After Movie Diner. He recently John Cross recently posted their last Sleazy Spader episode. So he does that one with Andy Lunn. It's a really fun episode there. Again, if you get it on Patreon, well, actually, it's on both. It's on the regular one as well. It's on the Apple feed as well. So if you check that one out. But then soon, I believe he'll be posting the episode that I did with him where we talk about Soldier, the Kurt Russell movie, and then The Kiss, a thriller with Joanna Pacula from the late 80s. So keep an eye out for those. Those should be coming soon. Oh, that episode should be coming soon, so keep an eye out for that. But yeah, that's kind of the big one. And then also Bulletproof, they're going to be doing a Van Damme extravaganza. So I'll have a part in some of those celebrations, so keep an eye out for those as well. But yeah, speaking of Bulletproof, stay tuned after our theme song here, because Chris Kacvinsky will be on, and we'll be looking at keep getting the name right. He wanted to say Return to Savage Beach. It's Lethal Ladies Return to Savage Beach. So I'm getting it right now. By the time I get it right, we're going to be done with the episode. But anyway, so yeah, stay tuned. So we'll listen to John Cross, After Movie Diner, and Miscellaneous Plumbing Fixtures doing our theme song. And then when we come back, we'll be looking at Lethal Ladies Return to Savage Beach. Welcome back to the DTVC podcast. As always, this is Matt here, and I don't know if you can hear there's a siren. I figure a fire truck had to come right as we were starting the podcast episode. But joining me is a very special guest, Chris Kacvinsky from Bulletproof Action. Welcome back, Chris.
Oh, it is great to be back. I have made my return, and we will be all returning to Savage Beach.
Yes.
Maybe we should call the cops that we watched this movie. I don't know.
I know. I think we can both. I think I can safely say for both of us that we are both buff and we are the stuff. I think we can.
Well,
we can make...
That's the great thing about audio. Yes, I'm very buff, everyone.
Yes. Yeah. I'm wearing a top hat as we speak. Yeah. So, yeah, exactly. Now, I wanted to mention too. Congratulations are in order. You just Bulletproof. I was going to say you just celebrated your anniversary. Bulletproof just celebrated your 10th anniversary, your actionversary. Congratulations.
Well, thank you very much, sir. Yes, we celebrated all August long, and I'll tell you what, I'm feeling it still. I'm not as young as I used to be. Can't do these actionversaries like I used to.
Yeah, I would say so. Of all the things all the content that you had, which was all kinds of really great stuff, like like World's Most Dangerous Garage, and an idea of like PM, if PM did Fast and Furious, which I thought was a really cool exercise, and great podcast episodes. But my number one that I have to say, my favorite was when you did Hercules in New York.
That warms my heart.
Yes. The treatment that you did in that movie was fantastic. I think that movie, it's on Tubi now. But to be honest, I don't think it matters if people haven't seen the movie yet. I don't think it matters if you listen to your podcast first and then watch it. Like, it's not one of those ones where like you're giving everything away, and it's like
right.
it's you could just listen to the episode and still watch it after.
Yeah, that one is such a stupid movie that I love. I love that movie so much. And again, if it did not happen, would Arnold have gone on to do what Arnold did? We'll never know. It's very important. It's a very historic movie for Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yes. Well, yeah, it is one of these fascinating, like you said, yeah, it's an important movie for Schwarzenegger because it's like he's making something here. People will probably, I don't know, when I watch it, I'm like, yeah, there is I don't know if I'm saying that guy could be Conan the Barbarian, or he could be Commando or whatever. But there's at least a sense of like he's got an it factor that and maybe I shouldn't be thinking that when I'm watching it. Maybe because I'm already playing the results. It's like it's maybe easier to see it, but I don't know. It has that kind of feel to it.
Yeah, I mean obviously I think we all saw it with the benefit of seeing that he was actually a movie star. Then we went back in time, and but yeah, what were the people who maybe the three people who saw it back when it was first released? What did they think? That'd be an interesting question to ask someone who saw it. I don't know if those people are alive or if they would admit to seeing that film in the theater.
Yeah, I have to feel like, yeah, somebody who saw that in the theater, and I shouldn't be casting aspersions on anybody, but I do probably feel like they probably lived a hard and fast lifestyle that if it didn't involve a lot of drinking, maybe bad food choices that could have led to either diabetes early or maybe a heart attack or something, unfortunately. So you might be right there.
Yeah, I mean, it was also G-rated, so was it marketed to kids? It's very fascinating. Like, who saw that movie when it happened? But I definitely know I've seen it dozens and dozens of times. And I feel like I saw it one day because I was homesick from school, and it was on like HBO in the morning, and I was just fascinated by it, and it became just one of those sentimental favorites.
Yeah, it was at the video store. So, it was the video store near us that, was one of those like corporate ones that came in. I think it was Movie Scene. Um,
Okay.
but like, they had bought out the libraries of the local mom and pops after they ran them out of business along with Blockbuster and whoever else. But they had this section of these kinds of movies that Hercules in New York was one. Mr. T's Be Somebody or Be Somebody's Fool was in that section. Yeah, my friend and I, we used to get movies out of there. I can't remember if Maximum Potential, the Dolph workout movie, was in there, but that kind of stuff was in there.
Yeah, like a lot of those were probably not even an hour, so they probably didn't want to charge you the same as you would an actual movie. But poor Hercules in New York, that's a full-length feature film, and what a feature! Oh, come on.
Yes. Yeah, and I also kind of feel like I don't think Arnold ever ran from it. Like it wasn't like he was like, I don't want you to watch,
Right?
Hercules.
No.
He embraced it. He leaned into it. So I think for a lot of those, I mean, you see, like, was it like Margot Robbie has a movie that she made, which she was like, way before she became famous. It's all over Tubi when it's like, and she's on the cover, even though she was like never in the movie, I think, or in it for like 2 seconds. I don't know if those actors run from those movies, but I like the way Arnold embraced it.
Some do. Yeah, like it. Isn't there the Texas Chainsaw Massacre that McConaughey and Zellweger pretend that never happened?
Yeah, yeah, I could see that. Which, like, but McConaughey, you're making tens of millions of dollars for some big company sales force that you're like doing advertisements for. You're
Right.
upset about the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It's like,
Right. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, you gotta have a sense of humor. That's why Arnold managed to be governor of California, and McConaughey is just McConaughey.
Yeah. Exactly.
Exactly. Now, speaking of bodybuilders or guys who are buff, this movie that we're about to watch here, or that we're about to discuss here, Lethal Ladies, Return to Savage Beach, it stars one Mr. Marcus Buff Bagwell, who I remember more from his WCW days because he didn't really have much of a WWF, I guess, at that
No.
time career.
What? It was a one night only affair for Buff.
Yeah. Yeah, I was reading, so there's a lot of, I guess, stories about why he didn't last in the WWF. My theory is that Vince McMahon saw how short he was, and maybe it was in this movie he saw him standing next to Julie Strain. Because doesn't Vince McMahon have a thing for tall people? Like he doesn't like short, like he likes
Right.
big
Yeah.
guys.
I mean, yeah, it's the old wrestling adage of the airport test. If you see a guy walking through the airport, does he grab your attention? And obviously, if you're freaking pushing 7 feet, yeah, people's heads are going to turn. But if you're just an average sized guy,
Yeah.
you're not going to necessarily do that. But again, Buff was Buff. I mean, that wasn't just a name. The man was well put together. But yeah, I think there was a lot to it. Attitude wise, I think the fact that his mom called him in sick didn't sit well with the office. There's a lot of things for Buff. Yeah.
Yeah,
And this
yeah.
and here he was actually like buff. Like this was him with his buff look. Like the previous, what was that, Day of the Warrior, or some such thing.
Yes, yes, yeah.
That was more like American males, Marcus Bagwell, with the
Right.
nice puffy hair.
Yeah.
Or here, he was truly buff, the stuff with the short hair, close to the wood, as he said. Uh, so yeah, we really get buff, and but here, spoiler alert, he gets the big baby face turn. He was the heel, and then he comes it back, and he's the baby face.
Yeah, and I
Kind
have
of
to.
the opposite of what his wrestling. He was, the baby. It's
Yeah, no. In wrestling, was he part of the Wolfpack segment of NWO? Did they let him in that far, or was he just
I think he was.
NWO?
I think he was black and white NWO. At that point, I was not as avidly watching WCW. It got to a point where didn't feel like it was needed to keep up with what was going on too much. I mean, I would pop in here and there, but I wasn't following it like I was earlier.
No, it was, it was the reason why the Wolfpack came back for me is that I listened to Boston sports radio, and there's these but the Patriots have a new general manager whose name is Elliot Wolf, and so one of the shows I listen to whenever they talk about him, they play the Wolfpack theme song, the
Yeah.
NWO Wolf. Yeah, so and I'd forgotten it even existed. So it was like it took forever, but yeah, so yeah,
It's an iconic. It's one of the best wrestling themes ever. Certainly from the WCW catalog, I would say.
Yeah, yeah, because the NWO song, and I mean what they were doing with that NWO thing was great. And I don't know, I guess it was, Bill Goldberg wasn't really a good wrestler, and he just injured all the WCW guys, and then they just like, so because I like what you were talking about, that there's that period of the WCW where everyone was injured, and it was like, well, who am I watching this week? Like who's even going to be
Right.
on Nitro?
Right. Yeah, they were injured, or they just didn't feel it. Yeah, and was it a legit injury or not? You didn't know, because they got paid regardless, whether they were sitting at home or at the arena. So I think some of those injuries may have gotten stretched out a little bit more than normal. Like if you had to be back to work to get paid, I bet you those injuries wouldn't have been as severe as maybe they were reported.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I remember, well, the one I remember the most was Bret the Hitman Hart, because he got a concussion when
Yes.
Goldberg kicked him in the head.
Oh yes, Bret
Yeah,
Hart has not forgotten about Bill Goldberg.
no, no. But my favorite Bret the Hitman was that A&E documentary where they were following him around when he was
Oh
like
yeah,
leaving WWF. And
yeah.
there's that whole thing where Vince McMahon kind of he thinks that it's going to be a double disqualification in Montreal because he doesn't want to lose the belt in Montreal, and Vince sells him out. And I remember his wife was like lecturing the other guys while Bret.
Right.
And I see like Hunter Hearst Helmsley is kind of sitting there with his head down while she's like, why didn't you say something? Why didn't you do something? And he's like, oh, I don't know. I'm Triple H. What am I supposed to do?
Right. Yeah. He said he didn't know anything about it and all that. Yeah. And she was like, "That's bullshit." And
Yeah, yeah. And you could just kind of tell he was just like, I'm getting out of here. I don't want
yeah,
anything to do with this.
that was a night. That was a night in November of 1997. Oh,
Yeah. Yeah, the wrestling at that time, because so my friends and I, we used to watch. I mean, I could kind of say Buff Bagwell has a part in this site being created, the direct-to-video kind of sort being created, because like I used to watch direct-to-video stuff when I was in high school with my friends and everything. When I got to college, there wasn't as much of an outlet for that. But then when we found WCW Nitro, they always had that action movie, that low-budget actioner
mm-hmm.
after. And my friends would be watching. I was like, oh, they're like, oh, is this Jerry Trimble guy? I never heard of Jerry Trimble either, but here he is in Terminator Woman or whatever it was that,
Right.
there's always a Piper movie. They always had a good amount of Piper films on as well. And so that kind of like furthered the direct to video action thing, I think. So Buff, at least he's got that part of his part of the legacy, I guess you could say.
Yeah, those late night cable. Oh, you miss all that stuff. The video store is gone. The late night cable is gone. It's a damn shame. I mean,
No.
obviously, all of this is at our fingertips, but it's always was so like, you tell me what to watch, TNT,
Yes.
because
Right.
I might not pick it. I may just pass it by. But if here it is, and let me watch for a little bit. Next thing you know, you've watched the whole damn thing.
Or late night TNT, it was like you'd maybe get home drunk from being out at the bars or whatever, and fall asleep to Roadhouse, and then you wake up to sort of like the Sidaris credits flashing across the screen at 3 in the morning, and it's like, I have no way to find the remote. I don't even know if I have the energy to get up. I'm probably not going to stay awake for this whole thing anyway. It's almost like this kind of fever dream of a movie that's sort of flashing on the screen there. And yeah, a Sidaris film was kind of perfect for that 3 in the morning block for TBS.
Yeah, but honestly, why they even bothered with because I'll tell you this. It's like, okay, I had to prepare. I wanted to watch the film. This one I had never seen. I've seen quite a few of Sidaris. Definitely all like the 80s stuff. I think the 90s is where I got a little shaky. So I found it on YouTube. And I'm like, all right, I'll just watch it on YouTube because I have the YouTube premium, so I won't have to worry about commercials on Tubi and all that. But something was very strange about the copy that I was watching. There was some big like cuts, and I'm like, wait a minute, I've been 15 minutes into this movie and I have not seen one pair of boobs yet.
Yeah.
This is an edited version of the film. And so then I just shut it off and watched it on Tubi.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, sometimes you got to sift through those like Sonic cheeseburger and, at home casino commercials. That's what we get here in Philadelphia, at least. Sometimes you got to sift through those commercials to get the boobs. It's the trade off.
I think that's why I ended up getting a Wendy's breakfast burrito then like a couple days later, because I probably saw that commercial 15 times during the watch.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. It's kind of part of the deal. Yeah. It's funny because, with this kind of movie, like I didn't think of them as Sidaris movies originally. It's kind of more since I've been doing the site and talking to people about them that they become Sidaris movies. I used to call them Strain Penhall films after Julie Strain and Bruce Penhall, because I just, I didn't realize that they were like a set group of Andy Sidaris movies. I thought they were just like 20 or 30 movies, because again, I was seeing them at 3 in the morning when I was hammered. And so I didn't know that there was just like 7 movies, and some of them had Bruce Penhall, some didn't, some had Julie Strain, some didn't. It was just, that script of, Andy Sidaris opening credits of Julie Strain flashing across the screen and Bruce Penhall. I mean, I remember Bruce Penhall from Chip, so that's why I think I gravitated towards that name. So it's like, oh, that's somebody I recognize, of course, have Bruce Penhall in here. One reason why I think this movie doesn't have Bruce Penhall is if you go to the trivia on Dallas Connection says that apparently Bruce Penhall went all in on the love scene that he had with Julie K. Smith, and his wife was not happy about it. So I'm thinking maybe that the wife called in an embargo and said, no more Andy Sidaris movies for you, Mr. Penhall.
Oh, what an illustrious career having to come to an end.
Yes. I just love the thinking, because I think the thinking on his mind was, hey, I'm an actor. I got to really get into my part. That's what I'll tell my wife. And she was just like, yes, that's why you had to suck Julie K. Smith's nipples. That's exactly why you did that, because you're getting into
acting.
Right, exactly. Yes. I married Marlon Brando.
He's a method actor. You can't fault him for that.
No, exactly. So yeah, so that's why we don't get Penhall in this sort of like this kind of last trip around for everybody thing. I mean, I guess technically we don't have Donna Spear except in like, file footage
the flashbacks here. Yes.
Yeah. The other problem with this movie, of course, is this is like the first one that Sidaris tried to do like back-to-back kind of stuff. And the problem is that he knew this was going to be shown on cable, where people were just going to, like me, were just going to see it as like a one-off or something. So he had to like put in all of this backstory to explain why people were doing different things. So it makes for, it's interesting. It's like it's like plot exposition, explosion, boobs, and it's just kind of that's the order that you get everything in.
You said, I mean, we could probably just stop right now.
Exactly.
You just explained the entire movie to everyone. This will be the shortest episode ever of your podcast.
Exactly. Yeah, that's all it is. Yeah, people listening to it like, oh, they're talking about Lethal Ladies: Return of the Savage Beast. Excellent. This is Sidaris stuff, and it's like, nope, that's what the movie is. Okay, goodbye. Yeah, well, anything you want to plug, Chris? And yeah.
I'd like to talk about the lethal acronym.
Yes.
Where they're enforcing total harmony. I mean, that seems wrong. If you have to enforce total harmony, it doesn't feel like it's actual harmony.
Yeah, it sounds very 70s dystopian sci-fi, I think. Like people like in long white robes, like, like Peter O'Toole or somebody like
Hmm.
walking along a set saying we're enforcing total harmony. And then, yeah, some Italian actor is trying to save the day. Or maybe it's like a Roger Daltrey. I don't know, not Daltrey.
Corman.
Or yeah, somebody, yeah, and yeah, the total harmony. I guess, yeah, that does sound like a bad, like maybe like Star Wars ripoff or something like that.
Where people are getting lobotomies or something. Something strange is happening. They're getting
Yeah.
drugged constantly, so they're just in total harmony. And I didn't care for
Wow.
that part of it. But
It could it be that it's motorboating, that like guys are getting motorboated by the women with their large boobs,
it
and
could be.
they're in a daze, and it's just like, then it's like, okay, is there anything that you want to yes, you can have all of my money, yes, you can, I will do whatever you say, I will not, it's like, yeah, you're just like, it's like, yeah, I imagine like it's just, yeah, that's the mind control technique.
Can I say another thing? It was I watched this movie on a Saturday morning, and it felt dirty watching it in daylight a little bit. Like first thing in the morning. Yeah, I had started it on YouTube late Friday night. Now that seemed right, but I'm like, but this isn't right.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and then by that point though, I'm like, all right, I'm too tired. I'll have to start this tomorrow.
Yes. Well, because
And
it's
next
bright.
thing I know, it's like 8:30 in the morning, and there's a bunch of boobs on my TV, and the window is open to the neighborhood, and I'm like, oh, somebody. Good thing it's too early for the mailman. He'd be like, what is going on in there?
Right. That's another advantage to the old way, right? When
Right.
these would only be on at 3 a.m, so that's the only time you would see them. You couldn't, unless you really set up the VCR, unless you put a lot of work in, right? You'd have to like
Right.
set up the VCR, program it, tape it, and be like, I am going to actively put this on at 8:30 in the morning and hope the mailman sees it.
Right. It just felt very wrong. Come on.
Yeah, I did the same because I started it at night myself and I fell asleep. And then, so our cats eat at 7 in the morning, and then I'll come, on a weekend, I'll fall back to sleep after feeding them. But I think it was one of those deals where I was like, I think I had like half hour left of the movie. And so I turn on that half hour, and yeah, I mean, especially the Paul Logan fantasy scene with Julie K. Smith, that's
Very
not a 7 a.m.
important.
scene.
Very important to the film, by the way.
Yes. Yeah.
It was, the plot. We could so many scenes in that movie had no bearing on this plot, this
No.
paper thin plot.
No. Well, maybe I'll kind of give everybody a warning. We'll kind of try to talk it through chronologically, but there's so many, like you said, there's so many kind of things that happen in this movie that are like kind of bits and pieces here and there that it's hard to know what order they all go in. I mean, we know the very opening sequence with the credits is Julie Strain swimming. And what looks like I was wondering if something was wrong with my I was watching it on a tablet. I was wondering if there's something wrong with it because it looked like something from the 70s. It was like the underwater camera of her swimming around in this bikini that was the kind of bikini I guess you'd wear to a public beach in Hawaii when there's kids around and things like that.
Yeah. Yeah. It definitely had like they were going for a James Bond like beginning, just with the music and and I'm obviously that was probably part of the inspiration to the whole series. These were spies, and they were betting one another, the James Bond stuff.
Yeah. Well, and to show the devil may care attitude that Julie Strain's Willow Black character has, she goes for her swim, she walks on the beach, gets into her Mustang, she doesn't put a towel down or a trash bag or anything, she just jumps right in the car and goes. So she really doesn't care.
She don't care. It's not her car.
Exactly. No. And she goes to the radio station K Sexy, where yeah, because I guess because you're right, you're west of the Mississippi, so it's K Sexy instead of W Sexy, like it would be east of the Mississippi.
Correct.
Yeah. And so
I like factually accurate things like that.
yes. Yeah, Sidaris, he plays fast and loose with some things, but he tries to keep things accurate when it comes to certain.
You had to keep it grounded in reality somewhat.
Yes, because we would watch it because that's the first thing that would have come up in the goofs section on IMDb is
Oh yeah.
They called it W Sexy, but actually
somebody would have shut it off. They would have been so angry.
Yes.
Right there, and he knew that was right at the beginning. He couldn't lose them that quickly.
No. And then, they decide they've got to send a message out to Tyler and Tiger in Dallas because they're
Yeah.
supposed to be taking down a terrorist group. So we've got massive plot exposition here in this scene at K Sexy. We get a good joke, right? Because we get uh uh what's Silk, right? She has a small bikini on, and this character who I don't know, is this character, is he supposed to be like a surrogate for an Abilene who can't shoot straight? I don't know who this guy is that's hanging out there, but
Was it Harry the Cat? Is that what was his
oh, was
name?
that? Oh, that was Kevin Eastman. That was him. That was the guy
He
who.
was.
So yeah, speaking of your podcast, you recently did Ninja Turtles. That's the guy who invented the Ninja Turtles.
Oh my! It what? Oh, I wish.
Yes. So he's married to Julie Strain. And so yes, the things
Ah,
I didn't recognize him because he's older now. So I think of what he looks like now. But that's right. That was him. He was Harry the Cat. Yeah. So he was married to Julie Strain. So he was in these movies, and then Rowdy Girls. I think I've joked, I don't know if I did this on my podcast, but he was the stunt buttocks to the guy who was hooking up with Julie Strain because apparently that guy didn't want to be naked in the movie, and it's like, well,
mm,
Eastman's like, well, hell, I'll do it. Throw my buttocks on there, that'll work. And so, he's also from the great state of Maine, where I'm from. He grew up about 45 minutes north of where I did. So, as I said, us Mainers, if you need a stunt buttocks, that's our state motto. Is we're there for the stunt
oh
buttocks.
wow!
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm learning so much here. What I wanted to say though here is ahead of the curve a bit with the whole like satellite radio gimmick.
Yes.
Like we
Yes.
we weren't in the Sirius and XM stuff just yet. I mean, that was still a few years away. I mean, it existed obviously, but not where it was like a mainstream thing where people were jumping on board and you had the Howard Sterns make the leap from
Yeah.
terrestrial radio to satellite. I mean, so they were ahead of the curve on this whole satellite radio craze.
Yeah, that's a great point because I think from Sidaris's point, he used it as a cheap gag, right? Where they open up the briefcase and suddenly the satellite becomes erect, right? When
Yes.
Tyler and Tiger are there. But yeah, you're absolutely correct. It's kind of funny. And Ava, would have been the character to. Or would have been the kind of person who would have had like an early satellite radio show. Like, oh, remember, K Sexy with Ava
Right.
Cadell. That was the heyday of early satellite
She
radio.
could
That
have
was
been like,
great.
yeah, she could have been like the Dr. Ruth of her time.
Yes, yeah, exactly. Yeah. Now, we first meet Tiger. She's naked on the bed.
Literally.
And of course, you would have missed this with the YouTube version. And
I did.
yeah,
That's when I knew something was wrong.
yeah, you're like, there's no way this person would be laying on the bed naked, but you wouldn't see it. And I guess the decision was made that I guess you cannot take a satellite radio broadcast naked. So
No,
she realizes she's got to
you
put a
want to be
dress on.
exactly. You want to be dressed for that.
Yeah. Oh, and we're talking about the storytelling of Andy Sidaris. One of the biggest rules he breaks here, of course, is having two characters with similar names, Tyler and Tiger. It's hard to keep them straight. I guess they could have maybe done something like, you know, Tiger, the one with the boobs. Yeah. Though later, Tyler, when they're sitting at the hot tub, Tyler's definitely man spreading and kind of just it's a bit obscene. I don't know. I don't know if YouTube would have cut that scene out as well, but they should have. It was definitely a little bit aggressive there with him in his banana hammock.
Well, I guess they felt you couldn't just have the ladies showing off. You needed to have a little eye candy for the women who may have been watching as well.
Yeah, yeah, and especially if Paul Logan's not doing it enough for you, we've got this fella here he was a little bit older too. He was born in the 50s, and so he was definitely kind of like, hey, the old guy still got it, Which I say he's the old guy. He's younger than I am now,
Right, right, yeah.
So,
I
yeah, so
understand.
right.
And was he supposed to be like John Apria's son? Is that what from
I
like the
think
preview?
so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's what they were saying with him. I mean, he also looked like a poor man's John Miller from the Godfrey Ho movies. Though I don't know if that's right to call him a poor man's. That anybody's a poor man's John Miller. But I guess it's just like it's like you're
He
watching a
may
cheap.
he may
Yeah,
have been middle class John Miller, and poor man
right,
John Miller was the guy in the Godfrey Ho movies.
right, exactly. That's a good point. Yeah, because I feel like if they made a sequel to Undefeatable, and they couldn't get John Miller, they'd get this guy. Godfrey Ho would have gotten this guy.
Yeah, yeah. He didn't have the red in his hair.
No, No, which is, yeah, it's a good point. Yeah. Now, one of the things that we also get here is we get plot exposition about these terrorists, right? So Tyler and Tiger just decide that they're going to tell each other as opposed to telling us, but they are telling us because they're telling each other about these terrorists. And we see this like hasty crew of guys like kind of running around with guns. And I don't know, is the scene where we see this what looks to be an Audi sedan parked in the woods? And then it drives away and suddenly it's got like a whole like large like station wagon kind of back. I don't know if that surprised you at all. I don't know if that caught you off guard.
What surprised me most was that the satellite, because they were watching in Hawaii, they watched this unfold on the screen. Now you would think if it's a satellite view, it should all be aerial shots.
Yes.
But really, it was not as aerial as one would think. You were getting like head-on views, like that, like the camera was, I don't know, on the ground looking at it.
Yes.
So there was that. So again, this is why we have to do the little details like KSXY and not WSXY, because we're gonna need you to suspend a little bit of that disbelief when you see these satellite footage.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I wonder too, because Sidaris being older, I wonder if he grew up watching Burns and Allen, and he's like just giving us a like a throwback to Burns and Allen. Like there's George Burns. They're essentially at Case Sexy watching everything happen. They are George Burns, cocking an eyebrow and smoking a cigar, like making jokes about what they're seeing.
Could be. Could you really class this whole thing up with that reference? I think.
Right. I think
it's like this is like we're talking about the golden age of television now.
Right, exactly. Yeah, when television was invented, right, they couldn't have imagined that a TBS would have existed on a thing called cable that at 3 a.m. would have been showing edited versions of these movies, let alone at HBO or Cinemax that would have had unedited versions.
Right.
Yeah. No. Though George Burns was alive for this, right? 1998 or no? Oh, 96 he passed, I think, right?
Okay. Well, that's a shame.
Yeah.
Hopefully he got to see a few of these fine Sidaris. I mean, they started back I think he started in the 70s with some of his early stuff, but
yeah,
really was the 80s where he really started to, he got his groove and he got into that mode, and then he just became a movie making machine.
Yes. Yeah, and I could see George Burns like taking a couple of the stars of one of these movies to like a Dean Martin roast or something in, like they'd be on each arm, here's Donna Spear and, Cynthia Brimhall or something walking in with him.
Yeah, I could see it.
Yeah. Now, we're also introduced to two other agents. So we know that Ty and Tiger are going to be taking out these terrorists driving the Audi hatchback station wagon and whatever with their weapons. But we've got Paul Logan, who, I did not know Paul Logan was born in 1973. I thought he was older. I mean, I don't know how much older, maybe born like the late 60s. But I was shocked at how young he was. I guess he looks older in Ballistica, but maybe not. I don't know. But yeah.
I was waiting for him to do some Ballistica in this. Obviously, he had not learned how to do that yet.
No. He's straight. I mean, his character name is Doc Austin, but I was just thinking Himbo would be enough for it.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't think he also knew how to act at this point. Not that anyone on the thing is really blowing anybody away, but he definitely stood out.
Yeah.
His delivery was quite something.
Yes, yeah, exactly. And he's acting opposite Julie K. Smith, which, I mean, for him, it sounds like a dream role, right? And he's just, I get to walk around with a leather vest and no shirt on underneath with a ponytail, just reciting lines here or there that make no sense. I mean, he has one scene where Julie K. Smith is dancing at the strip club because that's her undercover job, and yes. they let us know that that's the undercover job, right? And
they don't just let us know. We just get a random scene of her just to make sure we understood.
Yeah,
she's a stripper by day as the undercover. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Again, very important to the plot of the film that we see stripping.
Well, and Sidaris is showing us how important it is because, like, cut with the scenes of her doing the strip dance or doing the stripper routine is Paul Logan driving in a convertible to the strip club, almost like an LA Law opening or something like that. Like something, it's like he's driving and then she's dancing, he's driving, she's dancing, and then he just shows up in the doorway, smiles at her, she walks out, and they walk out together, and that's the scene. It's like you said, it's very important to the plot. Like it furthered their characters. I think from Paul Logan's standpoint, he probably was thinking like, what's my inspiration or what's my motivation here? And he did exactly what he needed to do in that scene. He walked in the room and she left with him.
There is a loophole though, and we didn't get to. Did he drive her there to begin with? Did he drive her there for her shift?
Yeah.
Then it'd be like, okay, I gotta, hit up the grocery store and maybe tan, laundry, gym, tan, laundry type thing. And then I'll swing by and get you when your shift is over.
Right.
We'll never know. We'll never know. Maybe maybe a coworker picked her up.
Right, that could be.
Fellow stripper. I don't know.
Right. Because we never found out what his cover is, right? They do a lot of conversation about how she's a stripper and that's the undercover job that she has. But his isn't, it's not like, like librarian or,
Maybe he's
something.
a veterinarian or something. He's a doctor of some description.
Right. Doc Austin. Yeah. That could be what it is. And he's done with his patients for the day.
He's like Doogie Howser. He's just this young doctor. Amazing person.
Right. That you never would have guessed, right? You talk to him and you think, God, this guy's got like 2 brain cells and they're fighting. But man, get him in the operating room and he can take that tumor out of somebody's brain like nothing,
Yeah, he's a savant.
Exactly. Now we get another piece of information here. Julie Strain, while she's talking with her husband and Ava at K-Sexy, she's told by the lethal people that she's supposed to pick up somebody, but they're not going to tell her who it is, but she'll recognize them when she sees them.
Mm-hmm.
So who could this be? We have to wait to find out, because I guess I'm trying to think, does the raid on the terrorists happen? I guess.
Yeah, I think that's already happened.
Yeah.
Because we had to have some action in there.
Yeah. And so we've got Ty and Tiger taking out these terrorists. They blow up their boat. There was a sexual innuendo joke about the explosive tipped arrows, and I guess maybe it wasn't that. It was just your standard fare sexual innuendo. It wasn't anything special. I can't remember what the joke was.
I can't say that I did either. But yeah, definitely something about tips, and I don't know, maybe just the tip. Who knows?
That's right. Yeah, something like that. Now, at the same time, we have a young blonde woman, who is putting on a red latex outfit, if that's what you could call it. And she is going next door to this building to advertise her new pizza place. At least that's what we think. Though something's got to be off about that pizza place if she's already slipping a Mickey into the beverage. Yes.
Let me tell you something about ginger ale. Who the hell's just drinking ginger ale for the enjoyment of it? I mean, that's like, again, that's probably what I was drinking when I was homesick watching Hercules in New York. Right. Because my tummy hurt. Who's like, oh, I want a piece of pizza and a ginger ale.
Right.
Get that crap out of here.
Yes, I was trying to think, like, can you imagine like Canada Dry doing commercials of like a family at a pizza place, and there's like a big 2-liter bottle that they're
You've never seen it. It's always Pepsi or Coke.
Right.
Come on.
Yeah. And the thing is too, is that the women who take the ginger ale, well, I guess the guy takes the ginger ale.
I mean, the old lady, I could see her wanting the ginger ale.
Yes, right. She
had to be like, she had to be Andy Sidaris' mom or something, right? Exactly. She had to be somebody's mom.
Yes, yeah. She was probably wondering if there's maybe been a nice crisp sarsaparilla in the container, in the box that she could try instead.
Not a root beer in there.
Right. Yeah. No. Yeah. So they drink these laced ginger, like you said, ginger ales. And I'm kind of shocked that now that you mentioned the ginger ale piece, because I was like, oh, interesting, ginger ale. But is it because because the cups didn't have anything in them, and they're like, well, we can't say there's, again, maybe this is Sidaris like trying to like really want, like covering the details. Like, well, we can't say there's Coke in those or Pepsi or any kind of cola because
Right.
they'll see that there's no brown liquid in there. So we got to say something like ginger ale because, I guess maybe he hadn't heard of Sprite. Maybe he wouldn't know what Sprite was at that time.
Or again, I mean, ginger ale is generic. That's not a
Right.
trademark. It's not a brand. So you could just say ginger ale.
Yeah.
But again, they could have said, put cola in there and called it root beer. I don't know. But I will say this as well. Like when she puts on her little, like it's like a lightning hot or something.
Yeah.
That was almost a bit of like a DoorDash type thing ahead
Yeah.
of its time.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
again, this movie again shows us the way of the future.
Yeah. It's interesting because I wonder if a young woman today were to deliver their DoorDash stuff, with an outfit like that. Because she was on rollerblades, or I guess was it rollerblades? Yeah, it wasn't roller skates. 'Cause Sidaris wouldn't have done roller skates at that time. It would have been, he was always up on the newest vehicles, right? Except for that, again, except for these random hatchbacks and things like that he would have in the movies. But usually these, so it would always be rollerblades instead of roller skates. But if a woman wore an outfit like that and
Yeah.
delivered DoorDash, like I wonder if she would get more tips.
Oh yeah.
Even if she didn't deliver as fast and get as many deliveries in.
I think she would. I think she definitely, but I guess it really depends, especially if you're delivering to like a place of work, like she did, like an office.
Yeah.
Like if I order, like I wait to like just leave it at my door, and then you almost wait for them to leave. I'm like, I don't even want any contact with this person at all.
Yes.
Just make sure okay, there it is. I see the food through the peephole. Okay, and they're driving away. All right, now I can open the door and get my food.
Yeah.
But maybe if I saw this, rollerblading buxom lady, I'd be like, oh, well, nice to see you. Thank you for my double cheeseburger.
Yes. Yeah.
With a Pepsi, not a freaking ginger ale.
No, but ginger ale with your burger. But right, you go back on the app and you add an extra $5 to the tip.
I'll make sure you're good. Thank you so much. Can you deliver for me all the time, please?
Right. Can I request? Yeah, exactly. I think she would clean up. I think, this is, you're right. This is two things that Sidaris has presaged here in this film. And I actually want to put a third one here because, okay, so the terrorist thing doesn't work out. Well, the terrorist thing does work out, right? They succeed, but Ty and Tiger discover it was a ruse, right? To get them out of the building because apparently instead of 3 people at the building, it would have been 5, and it would have been harder for this woman to pull this off.
Right.
Yeah, but that's what they figure out. But we get Julie Strain goes to pick up this mysterious person, and she discovers it's Buff Bagwell. It is the warrior from the previous movie who was murdering people. And Julie Strain's like, you were killing people. Like, how am I supposed to believe you're a good guy? And he explains, well, that guy I killed was actually a serial killer. So I did y'all a favor. I think this is the third one here where Sidaris was ahead of the curve because I feel like Vin Diesel on a late Saturday night after going to the clubs in LA, he's in his mansion with like some Tombstone pizza and some Coronas. He sees this movie and goes, that's how I'm getting Statham back in the films. That's how I'm getting all my baddies back.
Nice, yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm glad you said Corona with his Tombstone and not ginger ale.
Yes, exactly.
Because he had beer and pizza, yes.
Yeah.
If it's the family night, you would have the cola.
Yeah.
Of whatever cola was involved in that pizzeria. But not ginger ale. Come on.
No. It's yeah, I just, I like a good crisp ginger ale. Like sometimes I'll get a ginger ale on the flight, like if I'm flying, and I'll just be like, you know what? It's like, because it feels like a safe option when I'm flying.
Mm-hmm.
That's I guess that's another, or like you said, when you're ill, you feel like, good ginger ale is going to help you feel better. I think it's the thing, right? I guess all of us associate ginger ale with, being homesick from school and watching, whatever.
The Price is Right.
Price is Right. Yeah. So, yeah, but her subterfuge, I think that's the thing, right? Is that the outfit was so good that she could pull. But again, I don't see how she's fooling those women. I guess they're just like, yeah, I'll take a ginger ale.
But I also like the fact that it's like, this is a, nobody past this point type security access. But I've got free pizza to give out. Oh, well then, by all means, go right on ahead. Please.
Exactly.
I mean, Who am I to stop free pizza?
No, no. And the other thing I forget is, she's a computer expert. She goes in and she gets the information about where this hidden gold out near the Philippines is. On a deserted island, she gets it on a 3.5 floppy drive. But what's great is the sound effects on the program that she turns on, where it's like kind of some boops and bops, and then it kind of almost like explodes like a, I don't know, like centipede when the centipede blows.
Yeah,
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 that was the sound
probably.
that they were
Yeah.
using.
Yeah, I think her boops and bops turned a lot of people on. But yeah.
you know yeah, and so then when Ty and Tiger get to the location and discover that they've been had, right, that this woman was not selling pizza. She broke in and got this information on the disc. Luckily, Tiger is a forensic computerologist. Is that the term? I don't know what. Yeah, but
In addition to her stripping.
yes, yeah. Well, no, this is Tiger, not Julie Case. Well, did
Oh,
Tiger
you're right.
strip
No,
too?
you're right. No, never mind. I am getting
Yeah.
confused.
Well, because Tiger probably danced at that club in Dallas that they all dance in the other movies. That cowboy club place that I think all of them danced there at some point. So maybe they just assumed that we would know she would have danced there at that place. Yeah, I can't remember the name of the place. It's like some kind of cowboy place or something that Sidaris would always have in his movies, and if they were shooting in Dallas.
Naturally. I mean, yeah, he had his favorite spots.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So yeah, so she puts the disc in and she gets the exact same thing to happen and says, "Oh,
Hmm.
this is what's going on here." So now it's like, okay, we all need to rendezvous at in LA, I guess. But that's the other thing too, I guess, is they
Oh,
discover. Well, right, we get some interesting stuff here coming up. But is it in LA or Hawaii when the ninjas show up? That's Hawaii, I think, right?
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because that's a much quicker commute from Japan.
Right. Yeah.
But
So
yeah, they find out that like Tyler is like, oh, I have the diary from my dad,
right.
but I gave it to Cobra for safekeeping. Right? So you're thinking, oh, you say that. I'm like, oh, she probably has like some big vault
Right.
somewhere on her property
Right.
where all these top secret things are being kept. And then we go there and it's just out on the bookshelf, like next to her Canon film guide or something.
Right. Yes. The
It's
phone book, the LA area phone book.
yeah, the
Yeah.
joy of cooking, the joy of sex, and in
Yes.
between those is the diary of John Apria's character from
Yeah.
the original Savage Beach.
Y- Yeah. I guess she thought hiding it out in the open was the best way to go.
Sometimes in plain sight is the best place to hide.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah. So we know. Okay. And we also this pizza delivery woman in disguise. We find out what she's really up to, or at least we think. She goes to the hotel. Which is this the hotel? It's the beach, isn't it? The beach where the Brady Bunch did the Hawaii thing.
It could have been. I don't
I think
know.
so, right? Yeah. I don't know. So yeah, I mean, there's no tarantulas. There's no tiki.
Vincent Price.
Yeah, no, right. Yeah, I remember Michael Lookinland was talking about that episode. He's like, "Yeah, we were like kids, and we were like tied to a tree. It was like we're supposed to be on vacation. It's like I don't know what they were doing with this stuff. So even for him, I guess he maybe looks back on it. It's like, why were we doing that? But yeah, kids shows. There was all kinds of peril in kids shows. I guess that was
Hmm.
yeah,
At least they didn't have to go to a bike shop.
right, right, exactly. Yeah, yeah. So the the I'm trying to. So Rodrigo Obregon explains that he was the Rodrigo Obregon from Savage Beach, who's like gets blown up
Yes.
by the ladies, and so that's why he's wearing this like Phantom of the Opera
Hmm.
mask thing. Yeah,
Very classy.
right, right. So now what there's like they need the information from the book. I guess that's like the last thing that they need. So if they can get that, they'll have that combined with the disc will give them the location of the gold, and he'll be able to get the gold and win everything. I guess.
Right. And what I guess we all find out together in a big surprise is that there's a second disc, and it's in the diary.
Oh, that's right. That's right. And we find out because Sidaris seems to think that electronics get hot when they're near a microwave.
Mm-hmm.
And so Julie K. Smith is heating up some pizza in the micro. Was it Julie K. Smith who was doing? Oh, no, was it Paul Logan who was heating? Somebody was heating up pizza in the microwave, and suddenly the book was really hot because I guess I'd never had I never thought of this before. I never put a 3.5 disc near a microwave while I
I
was
think we
running
need to try it. We need to
Right.
try it. Does anyone have a disc? Do I have any discs in around? I might somewhere
Yeah. Yeah.
in
I'll
a
have to find them.
box. And
Yeah.
then you got to unglue a book though and put it
Hmm.
on and then put that book while you're heating up some pizza. And that's enough. Wait a minute too.
Yeah.
I'm not a big fan of heating up pizza in the microwave.
No, no.
Too chewy then.
Hmm. And the cheese gets like this kind of crust. It
Mhm.
turns into a crust actually. Like, yeah, that, like you said, yeah, the crust gets chewy, the cheese gets hard. Um, yeah, if you can't go cold pizza,
Yeah, you got to put that in the toaster oven or just
yeah,
the regular or even people who put it on a fry pan with some olive oil.
yeah,
That works too.
yeah.
I mean, that would be the one time I may as well just have some ginger ale if I was having microwaved pizza because that's trash anyway. I may as well just be a complete trash meal.
Yes, yeah, yeah. Because I mean, for me, the microwave was like again, going back to this. I feel like I'm just like describing myself as this horrible lush who just like loafed around drunk at 3 in the morning
You
doing
you
horrible.
are this is like some sort of therapy for you
Right,
coming out here
exactly.
admitting to this.
Right, exactly. But I could see myself. I don't even know. Actually, drunk is not the right state of mind for microwaving a pizza. I think it's more like I just don't care.
Right.
Frozen pizza in the oven. I need something to eat. Instead of putting the frozen pizza in the oven, I'm just going to throw it in the microwave. And if it gets close enough and it's not too cold in the middle, that'll do the trick for me because I just got to get something in my system. But even that sounds really dysfunctional. I mean, I don't know the last time I would have done something like that, but it definitely,
I think the only one that may have worked was Little Caesars pizza could be
oh yeah.
microwaved because I don't know that it ever was pizza to begin with. So,
Yes. Yeah,
I think that may
exactly.
be the one microwave exception. But even then, you got to still watch your times on there, folks.
Yeah. Yeah, one thing that's good I do with the microwave a lot of times is I might be running it for like 5 minutes, but I might do like an open and close midway through, and
Mm.
it kind of resets the heating. And so sometimes that can sometimes help with the cooking. Because if you let it go too long, yeah, suddenly that cheese, the sauce starts to explode, and you get all kinds of Sidaris-y kinds of things that happen with the
I'm looking forward to our spin-off show that we do together, Microwave Tips for
right. Yes.
people who are too lazy to actually cook. I mean, I think we can really, we have to work on the name,
Right.
but I think there's a future there for that.
Yeah, yeah. We have guests on like oh, this is Jim who's a purchaser for Trader Joe's. Come on in, Jim. Yeah. So how is it that you decide on what to, for microwave? Now, do you ever find that your stuff is actually too good, maybe for frozen microwave stuff? Well, I never thought of it like that. Yeah, I don't.
I just get, we have 6 different types of pizza here, and we're going to microwave each of them. Let's see what that does to them.
Yeah, I mean the Tombstone. I mean what was it? Bob Newhart. He did this one where there was an episode where his wife Emily took over his practice with the women that he was working with, and she was doing like her own like women's only nights, and he was banned from them. So he went out and got drunk, and he came home with a pizza, and I think he like folded the pizza and threw it in like oh no, it wasn't the microwave. He threw it in the cabinet. That's what it was because he was supposed to be getting a plate out, and yeah, when he was drunk. So yeah, so he wasn't trying to shove a pizza in the microwave, but I guess that's hard too because they have that spinny plate thing that if you throw the pizza in the microwave, it's like the plate's going to keep trying to like rotate underneath it.
Yeah.
Yeah, just going to spread pizza all over the inside of the microwave.
But yeah, back then, would they have had the spinning plate thing? When did that become a standard feature in the microwave?
Yeah,
Now we're going to have to do a microwave history episode as well.
right, exactly. Yes. Yeah, right. The old like just like heavy duty door closing, right, with the knob, right? That
Oh
yeah.
yeah, I remember that first microwave my family had. That thing was like a beast. Like
Yeah.
you had to it was like in a separate room. Like it couldn't even fit in the kitchen. I think it was like in the laundry room. You had to go in there and like, oh, there's room in there. Put it. thing probably weighed 300 pounds.
Right. And it was a scary thing. There's always like myths around the microwave. I remember my dad was like, no, don't put anything with mayonnaise in the microwave because it's just gonna separate or something. And I was like, really? Okay, all right, I won't do that.
Right.
Like all kinds of, everybody had these ideas about what microwaves could or couldn't do. You shouldn't cook that in the microwave, or you shouldn't. It's like, all right, well, as long as it's not metal, I think I'll be all right. And, yeah.
Right. Or you know what though? The Arby's sandwiches, they had like the foil wrap
Oh yes.
back then, but if you took it inside out,
Right.
you could put it in the microwave and it wouldn't do the metal gimmick.
That's right. Yeah, because I think later like versions of Pop Tarts had a metallic wrapper. Because they would suggest you kind of put the wrapper, use it to and it was like, but yeah, you had to make sure everything, like you couldn't have a metallic wrapper in there. That's right, because that would cause the problem.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. It's and Sidaris here, he's it seems because he does this a lot. This like electronics around the microwave heat up, and that's suddenly like how hidden electronics are found is through turning on the microwave. I have never found anything hidden while I've turned my microwave on. I've never,
No.
nothing suddenly smoked or burned or anything like that. And I've been like, oh, look at that. I look at that 3.5 floppy disk has been here this whole time. Let's see if it's got anything fancy on it.
Yeah, the only thing I've ever uncovered from a microwave would be if I used one like at the office and suddenly the person in front of you cooked fish in there.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
So you might create a fish stink.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like now, like every clickbaity article, like my work computer has these clickbaity articles from Microsoft. I think like probably every one of them about 10 things you shouldn't do at the office. Like somewhere in the middle is don't bring fish. That's
Right.
like, yeah, it's on the list.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't do that. No. So yeah, no. So I guess we're at this. I think the ninjas come in when the team splits up. I think that's what happens, right? Because they capture Ty at that point.
Yes.
Yeah. So I think what happens is we decide that we're going to split up the team and we're going to have Tiger and Cobra. They're going to go to Savage Beach and sort of scout around. They're going to fly over there and scout around. And then is it Julie Strain and Buff Bagwell? Do they take a boat somewhere? Warrior?
They meet up with Fu.
Right.
And I think that's where the ninjas strike, was when they meet up with Fu.
That's right, yeah, because Fu is not
maybe
happy
maybe they're all meeting there and Fu's got that giant chair for some reason.
Right.
I don't know what that's about.
I mean, because we get two groups of ninjas, don't we? We get these like kabuki ninjas that fight.
Oh yeah,
Fu.
the kabuki warriors. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
That's right. So I completely missed the kabuki fight because that's right. Like
when she picks up a warrior, they go see Fu.
That's right. And Fu's like, "What are you doing with this guy? He's a murderer." And she's like, "Don't worry, we retconned it, Vin Diesel style." Right. And he's like, "Okay, all right, I can get behind that because that's kind of what happens."
I want to say that Gerald Okamura is probably the finest actor in this film.
Yes.
He's the one I believe the most. He's good. And normally he's just a bit player. He's got obviously a very interesting look, which has gotten him many a role over the years. But yeah, he's number one. He would be the best actor award for Return to Savage Beach for me anyway.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. He definitely plays the part well. He knows what's being asked of him here, and he definitely maybe after him, maybe Ava Cadell at K Sexy. She definitely delivers what you're looking for from her role. Now with Gerald Okamura, I don't know if am I the only one who has this happen to him, but whenever I see the name Gerald Okamura, I think of his last name to the tune of "Rock Me Amadeus," and so yeah, I don't know if
that's all you, buddy. Everyone listening has just said, "What the hell is this guy talking about?"
Yeah, no, I like when I saw him in the movie. It's like when he first showed up, I was like Okamura, oh, Okamura.
I can get it now, but yeah.
I don't know why. I don't know why Okamura sounds like Rock Me Amadeus, but yeah, so yeah, whenever I see him, I always think that, but. yeah, these after we kind of get it out of the way that we're, that hey, Bagwell's actually on our warriors on our side. He's a good guy. The people that he was killed deserve to die. He wasn't, doing bad stuff. But I guess he did do some time in jail, right? They
Because
did
he
say
was still smuggling and
that's
whatnot,
right.
artifacts or whatnot. So yeah, he did have to do like 3 or 4 months, and it sounded like it was like a white collar type prison.
Yeah, he was hanging out with like Situation and Michael Cohen, in Connecticut, maybe, right? So,
Yes.
yeah, but yeah, once they've settled, like, okay, we're all on the same team. The Kabuki ninjas show up, and our heroes dispatch of them pretty quickly. They make quite a team. I'm kind of surprised that the three of them just don't team up and just run roughshod over the whole film.
Yeah, I mean they took care of business for sure. What in relatively short order, but a tall chair.
Yes, yes, yeah. Again, that I guess is just that must be like Sidaris, just like I don't know if like he and his wife and son, if they just go to like thrift stores or something like that, and they're just like, oh, that would be great in the movie,
Yeah, they
or
just have cool things, so they yeah. Let's put that in the movie. It looks cool. People will be talking about it decades
yes,
later on podcast because
yeah,
I know about podcasts because I already know about satellite radio
yeah,
and DoorDash
yeah, and Vin Diesel, yeah,
and Vin Diesel. Hmm.
yeah. So yeah, he's predicted so many things here. I wonder if that should be like the next, like remember, what was it like the Nostradamus books? Was it Time Life that did Nostradamus books where it was like all these things that Nostradamus predicted? And it was like he kind of didn't predict, but whatever. Time Life, you want to sell the books. Like,
I think now maybe like the Simpsons, they're credited for predicting
oh, right.
a lot of history. Sidaris deserves his recognition as well.
Yeah, I think, as seen on TV or Time Life books, could put out a Sidaris series about the things that, it would be kind of funny watching the commercial where like the person's talking very seriously about Sidaris predicting these things while like women are running on the beach with their boobs bouncing up and down and,
Right.
little toy helicopters are blowing things up and, whatever else that
I mean,
you
yeah, because prior to that, you only thought maybe like Sidaris was responsible for kind of capturing the timeline of women's grooming over the decades.
right. Right.
Perhaps when
Yeah.
things changed and when breast augmentation became more popular, you could kind of follow the trend line and see from the
Yeah.
70s through the 80s, the late 80s into the late 90s.
Right. Yes, exactly. Because yeah, late '90s. I mean, so yeah, when we get to when we get to the two ladies going to Savage Beach,
Oh,
yeah, I mean, poor Tiger Shay Marks, her boobs are in the way while she's trying to like the knife that she has in her gun belt is jabbing into her boobs while she's trying to dig up the treasure.
mhm.
That's how unwieldy they are in that setting.
I do like the fact that they're going through the jungle, like, oh, here's where we have to dig. But you know what? Let's go for a swim
Exactly.
until everybody else gets here. Like, let's not get started on this. This is going to be a major undertaking.
Yeah.
Let's go for a swim. Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe they're like, we're not going to be able to do it on our own anyway. I'm there with you, ladies. It
Yeah.
makes sense.
Right. It's almost like they had a sick, they're almost like they were able to predict that Paul Logan, their himbo with his nice biceps was going to show up and do all the digging for them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because that's what happens, right? They go back to Hawaii. Everybody reconvenes in Hawaii before they split up, and our two ladies go to Savage Beach. But actually, as they're putting the plan into motion, where the ladies are going to go to Savage Beach, the two guys were going to maybe, I guess, I don't know, like maybe help out or maybe, I don't know, run support. And then, Julie Strain and Buff Bagwell, they were going to do something as well to help out. Julie Strain says to Buff, she's like, hey, can I, you want to take a walk with me for a second? I got to talk to you about something. It's like, whenever you get taken aside in a Sidaris movie, especially if you're a man who's getting taken aside by a woman, yeah, what's coming next. And it's like a waterfall sex scene,
Oh
where
yeah.
Buff is like checking his hair out in the mirror while he's hooking up with Julie Strain. Yeah, I mean, but I wonder too, again, I'm wondering if Vince McMahon sees this movie and he sees like that Julie Strain is a foot taller than Buff Bagwell, and he's like, I can't, he wasn't even like, I can't just like have him be like a B player. I've just got to fire him. I just got,
It
yeah,
could be. Could
yeah,
be.
right, yeah. But it was great that Julie Strain, like the one thing I think that's great about Julie Strain in these movies is that whereas like you get like maybe like Paul Logan trying to act like he's trying to like recite the scenes as if he's an actor. Julie Strain is just like, I'm just here
She
reading.
doesn't care, right?
Yeah, I'll do my plot exposition, and then it's like, yeah, do you want to go roll in the hay? That's fine. And unlike Bruce Penhall, whose wife was very upset about the love scenes, Kevin Eastman doesn't care. He's hey, I got some Ninja Turtle comics to draw up, and you can go
Right.
do your thing with Buff Bagwell.
Yeah. Yeah, again, I did not make that connection. I'm still blown away. I'm probably not gonna sleep tonight just thinking about how did I not know this?
Yeah,
I guess I didn't, do enough research on Harry the cat.
right, right. No, it's an amazing thing because it's like you like I don't remember when he sold the Ninja Turtles. Like he sold his half of the Ninja Turtles. Because I think the other guy who created them was from Dover, New Hampshire, which is like 20 minutes away from where I grew up. It's actually like the town my dad grew up, like right near in New Hampshire. But so it's like all of my areas, like Ninja Turtles. I guess they're just all doing Ninja Turtle stuff. But I think it's like the early 2000s that he sells his half to that guy. And he was just doing like heavy metal comics, and then like doing nude scenes in Julie Strain's movies while they were a couple.
I mean, yeah, it's amazing. Amazing this collection of people that come together for these Andy Sidaris movies.
Right, right. Well, because like Andy Sidaris isn't going to be like, no, your husband can't be in these movies, Julie Strain. He's like, oh yeah, what does he want to get paid? Well, he co-created the Ninja Turtles, and however many movies and cartoons and action figures later, he's worth enough that you don't need to pay him. Great, that's perfect for me.
Right.
Because I didn't see him if he was a producer. That would have been great if he was like producing, but I don't think so. He's just doing these scenes. Yeah, just the idea, right? That the guy who created the Ninja Turtles is sitting there, um, making jokes about women's bikini and stuff like that.
Right. And I mean, even Sedaris himself, like his beginnings were like in sports. And
Yeah,
how did this like I'm sick of these sports. I want to make a bunch of movies where women are naked and solving crimes. This is my real dream. And he made it happen. Bless his soul.
I know. Yeah, I mean, he put out seven. When you think of, I mean, when you think of like direct-to-video action franchises, you've got the American Ninja movies, you've got the Blood Fists, and you got to put the Lethal Ladies films right there. And they were female-led for a good chunk with Donna Spear or Julie Strain. So another area where he was ahead of the curve.
Right. And yeah, and unlike his sporting background where when someone retired, they would raise the jersey into the rafters, he gets like a plane that's up hanging in the rafters in their headquarters to commemorate the original Lethal Ladies.
Right, right. Yeah. Yeah, it's amazing thing that I mean it is one of those things you think about like making your dreams come true. I mean, I think that if to be able to make these movies, and they I mean most of the movies were shot in Shreveport, but every once in a while he'd get to Hawaii and Vegas or something like that, so he get to travel around and stuff. Yeah, he made a good living for himself. I think if you're a director out there, you could do a lot worse than Andy Sidaris.
You really could. I mean, yeah, I'm surprised. Well, I know we've talked about it on Bulletproof. Like, should we one day rank the Andy Sidaris films?
Yeah, it's I thought it's interesting because because I've thought about ranking them myself, like where do I put them? Because like there's certain ones like maybe like Picasso Trigger that it's like I don't like it as much, but by the same token, it's like again if if it was cable and Picasso Trigger was on, I'd watch it like it,
Hmm.
and enjoy myself. So it's like Picasso. I was trying to think like where, if you're comparing it to like the Blood Fist series, like what would Picasso Trigger be like? Would it be as bad as like maybe like a Blood Fist 8? Like I don't think so. I don't know
No.
that. Yeah, it's like,
I mean, Picasso Trigger has Keith Cook, so right
that's right.
there, that would probably be high on my list
Yeah.
well, I probably would have to be if it was my website. But yeah, I would probably have it on my personal list. Now, how everybody else would react to it, who knows? But
Yeah. No,
yeah,
that's a great point because that's because he's not even just Keith Cook, right? I think he's Keith. Was it
Keith
Yamamoto or
Hirabayashi.
yeah,
What
right?
is
Kobayashi. Yeah, I can't remember. I have to look. It was horrible. Yeah, because it was before I guess when he did China O'Brien, his agent said you should change your last name to Cook.
yeah,
But but I think before that he was yeah, I think it was, I think it's the only movie where he uses his real last name.
right. And then sometimes he would be like Keith Hirabayashi. Yeah. Yeah, because it was Picasso Trigger, and then his next movie was China O'Brien.
Yeah. Oh, Hirabayashi. There. Yeah. So yeah. So yeah. Because again with Sidaris, like he's making these movies in Hawaii. He's like, yeah, definitely use your your Japanese last name. That's perfect
Hmm.
for us.
Hmm.
Yeah. He's much more much more open to that kind of thing, I guess. Well, and again, like Keith Cook's his agent should have known, hey, Sidaris is the guy. He seems to know these things. Well, because actually I'm trying to think, yeah, because even with the Albert Pyun films, I don't think he went by Hirabashi. I think he still went by Keith Cook.
I believe so. Again, sometimes I think he may have been Keith H. Cook on some things, but
Hmm.
it doesn't look like it for Heat Seeker.
Yeah. Yeah, that also had, I forgot that also had Dennis Alexio in it, Picasso Trigger. So I'm saying
Yeah,
Picasso Trigger's like low on the list here, and I'm like finding all these reasons why I love it. It's like,
right. See, that's yeah. For me, who's more the action movie history and all that. Yeah, right there. That's like 2 bonus points for it. So it's like, would
yeah,
that be my favorite? I don't know. I mean, what else do you grade it on? Plot?
right, right. That's a good point.
Cup size? I mean, do you add up all the cup sizes? I don't know.
Right,
Hmm.
right. Because I mean, this one has right. This one's got it's also got Harold Diamond, which I think the Harold Diamond ones that helps them too.
Yeah.
This one and Hard Ticket to Hawaii, which that one's I think a classic that everybody seems to like is Hard Ticket to
Yes.
Hawaii. But Harold Diamond is also going to be. I mean, he did very few movies, and so him. I think he man buns it in Hard Ticket to Hawaii. I don't think he does man. I don't think he goes with the man bun in.
I mean,
Uh,
yeah, he goes toe to toe with Rambo
yes.
in the
Yeah.
in Rambo 2? No, 3.
Yeah.
Stick fighting. Yeah.
Yeah, and of course, which was one of the Amir Shervan films that was Young Rebels, was that? No, no, not Young Rebels.
Oh, Young Rebels. Oh,
Yes. Killing American Style is the one that he did with
yes.
Harold Diamond.
Yes, I've
Yes.
seen that one. Yeah. But Young
Yeah.
Rebels, what a wonderful film.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Amir Shervan's another one who just, not. It's funny to say like his movies aren't at the quality or the level of Sidaris, right? The Sidaris, we're saying all these things about the Sidaris movie, and it's like they're levels below this that you can
There
go.
are. I mean, yeah,
Yeah,
I mean the production value of a Sidaris movie is good.
yeah,
I mean, it looks good. Obviously he wanted to showcase these women in the best light possible.
right.
So it doesn't look cheap, but you know, then they have to act, and then it's like you realize it's not a very big time movie, but that's all right
Yeah.
because
Well,
it's I mean, obviously they did well enough, or Sidaris just had enough money that he didn't give a shit, and he just kept making them.
right, exactly. Well, look, 'cause I think that time, the cable, era, especially like the pay cable era, they were just like, we need stuff, and
Well,
these are
yeah,
great. These are perfect. They're Playboy Playmates in them, some names here or there that we recognize, like a Bruce Penhall, like, oh yeah, Chips had just gone off the air, it's like this, yeah, we'll use, or Eric Estrada comes in, another Chips alum.
Pat
So
Morita's in one of them, isn't he?
right, because then his character is played by somebody else. I think he's played by a white guy later. I think that's what happens. I think it's I can't remember the actor's name, but it's like a British guy plays him, plays the same character, I think, in later
That
movies.
makes total sense to me.
Exactly, exactly. Yeah. Now, speaking of Pepperita, speaking of martial arts, when the crew split up, we get a scene where Julie Strain and Paul Logan are walking out of like I don't know, it's like a tropical. I don't know where they're walking into, into an area, and he makes a joke that he loves a woman in leather because she smells like a new car. And I think Julie Strain's joke is, well, you're not going to get a ride or something like that. That's the joke back. But I don't think I've ever heard that one before.
No, no, no. Yeah, again, there's some gold in these hills.
Right. And then the ninjas show up and they knock him out. They kidnap John Aprea's son, the poor man, or like you said,
Tyler,
the middle class John Miller, Tyler.
right?
He gets kidnapped by the ninjas and our pizza lady. She's dressed in black now, leading the ninjas. And the thing is, right, is that we know that our heroes have radar and satellites and all of this stuff that they can use to, get perfect on the ground shots of action that's happening anywhere in the world. How do you get around something like that? Well, the our baddies go out and rent a submarine from the local marina in Hawaii, and they take everybody on the submarine, and you know and I believe even that I think Marcus Bagwell is the one who makes the point that, like, oh, they got the submarine because they know we're tracking them,
Yeah,
that.
he's smart.
Yeah, he's on top of all that. Well, it's like what Vin Diesel said in or not Vin Diesel, what The Rock said in was it Fast and Furious 6, I think, right? You got to get wolves to chase wolves, right? That's why, you have Marcus Bagwell helping with the baddies because he thinks like a baddie.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good. Good stuff.
Yeah, again, this, like you said, it's a Corona, it's not a ginger ale, but it's definitely a Tombstone pizza that Vin Diesel's sitting there with this, it's like tight white black T-shirt in the middle of the night, just watching these movies and going like, okay, I like this. I mean, there is kind of a Dungeon and Dragons, like everybody teams up together kind of aspect too that I guess he would probably have appreciated.
Yeah, I mean, you're quite the ensemble cast. I mean, it's just the chemistry between these people is off the charts.
Yes, yes. So I'm trying to think. So I guess somehow did I can't remember how. So we know that the ladies get to the island, and while they're waiting for everybody to show up, they go for a swim.
Yes, and we
And,
got to talk about this.
yeah,
So they go for a swim.
right.
All right, I'm fine with that. But why mid swim do they decide our tits should be out? Don't you think?
Yes,
Like why don't you just go skinny dipping from the word go?
right.
Why partway through you're like, I'm wearing too much here in this ocean?
Yes.
It just like just either or even just go out top like from the beginning. Just be like,
Yeah.
oh, like did they bring their bikinis with them? Was it underneath what they were wearing? I assume that,
Yeah.
but I don't know. It
No.
just to me, it's like cut out the middleman.
Right. Were they afraid of reefs? Is that what it was like? Because I guess like if there's a coral reef, you could get a lot of abrasions if
Right?
you're
Oh yeah.
topless. But maybe when they discovered there were no reefs, it was like, oh, well, okay, we're safe now. We don't have to worry about any abrasions. And
Yes. You
yeah,
know what? You've just made perfect sense of the whole
right.
thing. I apologize for questioning what I saw there.
Well, because there's also no, there's bad top continuity because when they get out of the water, the tops are magically back on.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Maybe
so
it was meant to be our own fantasy.
well, that could
And
be
it didn't really happen. Like we were Doc for a moment while we were watching. Like,
right,
what would
right,
make this better? Their
right.
boobs
If
were out.
right, if they were swimming topless, yeah,
I mean, the thing is, I didn't fear that they would drown. I guess is
right,
what I'm trying to say. They
yes,
had flotation devices. They were going to be fine. Uh, unless they hit it by coral and they deflated, and then maybe they'd be in trouble. I don't know.
right, right, yes, because yeah, I mean, again, like you said, the augmentation that these women, I mean, especially for Shay Marks as Tiger, it just seems like it's very
Oh,
difficult to be an agent. They seem to be in the way for any kind of like utilitarian function that she needs to do on the island.
and I'm going to say as well, like you watch police shows and whatnot. And it's like, when like coworkers get together, it's always like, oh, is this gonna, we got to kind of keep it on the down low. We don't want the captain to know that we're
Right.
hooking up, because then they'll move us, or they'll,
Yeah.
I'll have to move precincts or whatever. Here they're just like, no, it's like it's encouraged. Like,
Right.
oh, you're banging him and you're banging her. Okay, well, yeah, you're a team now. Go off and
Right.
do espionage stuff.
Right, right. Yeah, like you said, it's definitely encouraged, right? It's they're because I have to assume that HR is pretty lax with the lethal organization, if
It was
there's HR
probably
at
that
all.
it was probably that old lady in the office, and she's
Yes,
getting Mickeyed every other week with ginger ale.
right,
She
exactly.
don't know what's going on.
Yeah, right. That's Tyler and Ty, right? Going to the office. They're like, boy, maybe we should go back in the room there. Yeah, but HR is watching. Don't worry, I got this, and kind of cracks the pill and puts it into the cup of ginger ale,
Hmm.
right? Like, hey, Mrs. So and So, I got your ginger ale. Oh, thank you. You know how much I enjoy a nice ginger ale. Definitely works. It keeps me from being dyspeptic. Oh, I didn't need to hear that. Thank you. Okay, here. Then they watch their clock, their watches, and then they kind of nod at each other and go look, and her head's like planted face down on the desk or whatever, and it's like, okay, let's go. Yeah. Yeah. In movies like this, a good Mickey, right? It's, I'm, it's, between the Mickeys and getting hit in the back of the head, you never know, right? You just, you really got to be careful in a movie like this. You could find yourself you could be waking up anywhere at any time.
I think that lady was in. Oh, let's see. Was she in another one?
I mean,
She
she
was.
might have been.
She was in maybe in Seven. If she was the office manager, which I assume that's who she was. She was in Andy Sidaris' first film, Seven. Or was that his
Oh,
second
okay.
film? That was, I think, his second one. As Plump Lady.
Yeah, she unfortunately left. Well, she was born in 1920. She left us in 2007.
Rest in
So
peace.
yeah, and yeah, if you look at her additional crew, she's an accountant for
Okay.
all the films.
She
So
was making sure he had the money to do this.
yeah, she was like, okay, you want to blow up a Mercedes? I think I know a guy at a junkyard who's got a Civic that looks pretty close to that Mercedes that you can blow up. And it's like, perfect, bring it on down. Well, yeah, make it happen.
I'm wondering if we could find out where she's buried.
Yeah.
Because I'd like to pour out a ginger ale in her honor.
Yes, I agree. I agree. So it just says she died in California, USA. So, for people outside the US listening to our show, California's a big state.
Yeah.
Yeah, bigger than a lot of countries. Yeah. So she could be in a lot of different places. Yeah, it could take, years to find her.
I might have to get some of my LA peeps on this and do some investigation work for me.
Oh, she's Andy Sidaris' mother-in-law.
There you go. See, I knew she had to
It's
be.
Arlene's mom. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So and Christian's grand. So we could contact Christian and be like, hey, where's your grandmother buried? And I'm sure he'd be happy to tell us.
I'm sure. I'm sure he wouldn't at all be taken aback as to why some random strangers were asking him
Right.
such a personal question.
Yeah. I need official website letterhead so I can just send him a letter on direct to video connoisseur letterhead, and
Yeah, I like
that
it.
yeah, that might do the trick. I don't we'll see.
Or maybe have him on our microwave show and then
Right.
just kind of casually slip it in.
Yeah. Hey, speaking of which, yeah, while you're trying to chew through that frozen pizza that you overcooked in the microwave, we were wondering if you could give us a sense of where your grandmother was buried. Yeah. No, the grandmother, your mom's mom. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Or just ask if she was cremated, because then it's all a moot point. We just could pour one out in her honor right there on the show.
Yeah.
You wouldn't want to pour it into the ashes, because that would be
No.
disrespectful.
That wouldn't work. No, so we'd have to. Yeah. I mean, we could try to find the desk that was shot at. Maybe we could pour. Yeah. Just go in there. I mean, that could be right. The guy that's like that's working security. Like, hey, you can't come in here. No, we just got to pour some ginger ale out. You have ginger ale?
Right.
Actually, we do. If you'd like some, yeah. He falls for it again. Slips him another Mickey. I don't know. Now, I'm trying to remember at this point, because now it's a little bit of a haze. So we get the ninjas who show up that they hit Logan on the head, and then there's like some kind of confrontation that happens at the submarine, right? Or when they get to the submarine, they're taking them off the submarine to like some location, and that I think that's when the heroes come in. I can't, or no, I guess this is all happening on the island, isn't it? That's all. The submarine goes to the island, and
Yeah.
our heroes go. Everybody rendezvous at Savage Island. We also get some flashback sequences of Hope Marie Carlton and Donna Spear from the original Savage Beach movie, which I'm wondering with Andy Sidaris, because he wasn't a fan of Hope Marie Carlton by the end of the time that she was on there. I think one of the scenes was one of the last movie that she was supposed to do. She didn't want to get naked, and he was like, "Well, I'm only having you in the movie to get naked. So
Right.
if you don't want to get naked, don't." But apparently they didn't get along. She had ideas for her character, and he was just like, just do the part. I don't, I don't know exactly what was going on there, but I wonder if either A, he liked being able to show her in the movie because and didn't want to pay her for her like the file footage of her sequences, or B, he was upset that he had to use her because he had to pay her for those short sequences.
Yeah. Yeah, I could see that. I could see him being upset, but yeah, I mean, it was essential to the story. We needed that flashback.
Yeah. Well, because again, he's trying to go back to Savage Beach because the thing is, right? You can't do like Disney Plus TV series, right? Where there's all these interconnected things, and it's like, well, hey, if you didn't watch, it's your bad if you didn't watch it, right? Like HBO would be like, no, you got to tell people what happened, and I don't know if HBO is telling him what to do with his movies, but he's probably thinking, right, like, if this is going to show on HBO, people are going to want to know, what some movie 10 years ago I made, like what I'm referencing here. So like you said, he had to show it. He had to show the flashback. Though it would have been kind of funny if he got somebody else to play Hope Marie Carlton's part. But I guess he liked Donna Spear, right? He was, they were friends and they got along. So he wouldn't want to screw over Donna Spear. So maybe he was kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place.
Yeah. Yeah, it was probably more for Donna than if they were close.
Yeah, because she had problems with alcohol, and I guess like Andy and Arlene Sidaris, I guess they kind of took care of her, like making the movies, like they kind of kept her from, like kind of gave her car service to get her back and forth to the hotel, and like kind of kept an eye, whether she was drinking or not, and kind of helped her through the sobriety piece of it, and so she kind of appreciated that in making the movies with them. So it was a small place to pray, right? Sobriety for some nude scenes here or there, and so
Right.
yeah. But what's funny is he makes that decision to pivot from the Abilene who can't shoot straight as the lead for the movies to Donna Spear as the lead, and it is kind of revolutionary because there weren't a lot of action movie franchises that were helmed by women at that time. So again, Sidaris, he's just ahead of the curve.
Yeah, he was. I mean, he empowered these women. One would say. Some would probably argue against that, but it's a double-edged sword, I suppose.
Yeah, it's like it's the yeah, because you have the very strong women in the movies. I think the closest thing you get to a not strong woman scene is when in was it Guns, where Eric Estrada like pulls Donna Spear off the dirt bike so he can chase the guy away, and she gives it to him after that. She's like, yeah, you can't treat me like that. Hey, I'm an equal to you, Mr. Estrada, and he agreed, I guess. I can't remember, but yeah, for the most part though, right? These were women that were just like kicking ass and taking names, and yeah, and you got Cynthia Rothrock kind of around this time, and of course in Hong Kong they were plenty happy to have women in the leads,
Right.
but in America it was like, well, yeah, especially for mainstream stuff, they were just kind of like, well, maybe we'll do a Bridget Nielsen movie, maybe we won't, we'll tease the Brigitte Nielsen movie and then we'll just kill it. That was kind of how Hollywood was doing it at the time.
Yeah. Yeah, it's sometimes slow to change over there in Hollywood.
Yeah, and it's a shame, because I think Hollywood could have done what Sidaris was doing. It just could have been, all kind of major actresses, right? Just,
Keeping their
things
clothes on. Yeah.
Yeah, they topless blowing things up. I think that was the route that, I feel like I'm really bad for saying this, but Elektra could have potentially, maybe it didn't need to be Jennifer Garner. Jennifer Garner, she didn't want to be, but it would it's just like to see like what how Electra would have been like received if it was made more like an Andy Sidaris movie.
Yeah, I mean, you had Barbed Wire, and that was kind of a. But did that blow up? I mean, did the Anna Nicole Smith PM movies do amazing work? I don't.
Right. They what they did, right? Those PM Nicole, especially Skyscraper. It's like it was just like the PM machine. Like it's almost like they couldn't make a bad action movie.
Right.
And so it's like, okay, we've got Anna Nicole Smith. We're feeding her lines. We're making her a helicopter pilot so we can feed her lines while she's got the
Hmm.
headset on. They're essentially like just throwing her over like for her scenes where she's supposed to like jump away from things. And but it's like, yeah, it's almost like PM just like they couldn't make a bad action movie. They just even if they were trying to, they were just like, with Anna Nicole Smith, oh, we're going to shoehorn some love scenes in here, but we still just have to make a really great action movie.
Well, yeah, they had the action down, as we have talked about many times on this program
Yes.
already.
Right.
But yeah, they had that part down. So yeah, it was just kind of plug and play the
Right.
the actors and actresses, and
Yeah.
you got various levels of results on that. But again, they were always worth watching.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. I mean, yeah, because the other one she did, the To the Limit, that was like kind of a Joey Travolta passion project, I think, where it was just like, like, well, we can get some nude Anna Nicole Smith in it if maybe that was like PM's like compromise. We'll let you make this passion project with Branscombe, Richmond, and whoever else you want in the movie, but you've got to have some nude Anna Nicole Smith. And he's like, I don't know if I'm going to do this, Mary and Pepin. All right, if this is what it's going to take for me to make my movie, I'll agree to it. Okay. How many nude scenes do you think? You
Yeah.
you 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 want 3 or 4? I was thinking 2, but I guess I could be convinced to 3 or 4. All right, I'm just sort of guessing
Some
on what that.
somebody cue Creed's "My Sacrifice" right now.
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. Poor Joey Travolta. What he gave up with PM to be able to make his movies. Yeah, he should be lauded for that. He should be. He doesn't get his proper due. Mr. Joey Travolta. So, I'm trying. So I guess at this point, have we dug up the Buddha yet?
We dug up the Buddha, and there's a bomb inside.
That's right.
And
That's
the
right.
medallion that Apria's kid, Tyler, has is the only thing that could. You have to put that on top to deactivate the bomb. But the problem is he got shot, and the medallion saved him.
Yes.
And he
What?
just has random blood on him, even
Right.
though there's like no sign of a gash or where the like medallion dug into his skin. It
Right.
just like blood rubbed on his chest and the thing. And now the medallion doesn't fit, so they're filing down the bullet.
So,
And
right,
they're
'cause-
all standing around.
right.
I mean, I don't know how powerful this bomb was. Like, I don't think it was that powerful. Like,
It's not the
I
Predator. It's not the Predator bomb.
right,
It,
exactly. And I hate to say this, but I would have been like, if I was standing in that group, I would probably somebody would have to spoke up and said, "Do we really all have to die here if we can't get this bomb not to go? Uh, Why are we all just standing here? Shouldn't some of us like go away? Because we're just looking at it. We're not helping file the damn thing down."
Well, and I wonder too if the amount of time it took to file the thing down, would it have been easier just to throw it in the water and
Yeah, that's the
you
other
know,
thing. Yeah.
yeah,
Or why just leave? Like, why do you need that gold Buddha that bad?
right, exactly. And would a
And is
gold
gold
Buddha
gonna
blow up?
blow up? It's not
Right.
gonna.
Yeah, it might not look as nice, but I don't think it'll blow up.
No, it's solid
No.
gold.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing, of course, with the with Tyler getting shot, we established, when you were on before, when we talked about American Ninja 2, that the one area that ninjas are bad is firearms. They just don't
Hmm.
use firearms well, and that was shown here as well. The whenever the ninjas were shooting at anybody, they couldn't hit anybody, and even at point blank range, of all the places to hit, he hits the medallion. So yeah, again, ninjas just that's their one weakness. They can't use firearms.
Right. Yeah. They should stick with what they know.
Yeah.
Shuriken, nunchaku, blow darts, swords.
Yeah. Well, and because the other thing too, you can tell these ninjas are not at the caliber of Joe Armstrong, because at one point I think Tiger shoots one of her explosive arrows at one of them, and he doesn't catch it in his teeth or even just catch it with his hand
And
and
it
throw it
snap
back
it.
at her.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so he's, they're able to be felled by arrows. So they had a couple more levels, I guess, of ninjutsu training to go before I guess Rodrigo Obregon is the baddie. He wasn't able to afford those higher end ninjas.
No, no, you need like a drug empire to
Yeah,
fund that, or like some kind of secret experiments you're doing on an island.
yeah.
I don't know.
No, no, and so we also find out that our pizza, our Mickey distributing pizza, or Mickey slipping pizza lady, is actually not a baddie after all, but she is in fact a good guy undercover. So again, Vin Diesel's watching this, munching on his tombstone, drinking his Corona, going like, "Oh, this is perfect. I can, here's what I'm going to do with Charlize Theron or whatever. This is going to work." But so now that we find out that she's a good guy, she's going to do her last undercover mission, which is to go in undercover to confront Rodrigo Obregon. And but before that happens, we have another aside that we need to get to. And Julie K. Smith decides she's going to take Mr. Logan aside. I don't know what the expression is on his face. It's supposed to be like he's daydreaming about her. Um, the expression looks like, I don't know, like a guy at a game getting hammered, like taking a leak in the trough at the sporting event, like that's the face. It's like, oh yeah, okay, that's good. Yeah. But I guess the $20 beer, you got to get any enjoyment out of it you can. And, taking a leak after is probably the last bit of enjoyment you get out of that $20 beer that you spent there. But that's kind of the face he has, I think.
Yeah, and I do want to say that he Mr. Logan did get better over time. Maybe not necessarily hugely better, but he did get better over time. Um, but yeah, he's greener than goose shit in this movie.
Right. No, he's a serviceable B action guy for
Yeah.
sure. Again, I thought he was closer in age to, like, like the at least like a DeCascos, or Michael J. White, kind of born in like the late '60s. So I was shocked to find out he's born in '73. Which, I mean, it's that doesn't mean like, he's like young, but it's like, yeah, I thought he was a lot older than he is, I guess. 5 years isn't a lot older, but I don't know if you know what I mean. Like I thought he was a
Right.
little older than this. So I mean, here he definitely looks like he's only born in '73. He looks like he's 25-year-old or 24-year-old in this. Like he
Hmm.
definitely looks that young here. But by the time Ballistica comes out, which I guess that's '09, he looks like he's in his 40s then, and I guess he's only in his mid 30s.
You grow up fast in Hollywood, I'll tell you what.
Right. Yes. Yeah. It's a hard lifestyle there. It's hard to make, it's, he thought it was all going to be just, Julie K. Smith and love scenes. And that was what was, just, you just got to be a himbo, and you get the scenes that you want. And he found out quick, this was Sidaris' last movie. There were no more of these for him. And, he just, yeah, he had to work on that martial arts a little bit more. Because, obviously that looked like that needed some work in here as well. But he definitely trained more after this as well. So yeah, we've got our confrontation, but what we know is, even though we've got this confrontation coming, there's a little bit more time left on that slider bar, and so they're not going to be 20 minutes worth of credits. So I've seen my share of bad low budget movies that will do 20 minutes worth of credits. So it's not like it'd be completely beyond the pale, but you wouldn't see Sidaris doing it. So we expect there's a twist coming here, and what happens is she catches or it's Rodrigo Obregon is onto Sophia, and he catches that she's, actually undercover and trying to double cross him or whatever. So he knocks her out, not with a Mickey. He just like hits her, and
Right.
she, she's suddenly like, it's almost like the woman in the old movie who just faints because something
Right.
happens, right? So it's like suddenly she's just lying on the, and so he kind of ties her up and sticks her in the corner, but. Julie Strain, of course, Willow Black. She. This isn't her first time around the block. She knows that, hey, they've been in there too long. Let's go in there and figure out what's happening in there. So they do. So she goes in with Julie K. Smith and Tiger, Shane Mark. So Tiger gets the crazy Grinchy idea to offer Mr. Obregon a refill of his champagne. At which time she grabs some Scotch tape, or I guess maybe it's medical tape, I can't, whatever it is, but she grabs some tape and she pulls a fingerprint off it. And I mean,
Mm-hmm.
Obregon, for all of his slickness as the baddie, doesn't catch that happening at all. So she heads down to the yacht because they have a fax machine down there on the yacht, which is, perfectly convenient. Again, height of technology at that time. Hey, the Lethal Crew, they've got the best in technology. So she sends off a fax while the guys go upstairs to help out the women. They confront everybody, and she finds out that actually this isn't Rodrigo Obregon, it's somebody else. And luckily, when she goes to confront him, she's able to find the I guess the stitch or the where the mask is right. She's able to find that piece and she pulls it off. And yeah, it's some random person that we didn't see. It wasn't like a
Right.
reveal of like somebody would have known. It's just like, yeah,
Right.
just
It
some
wasn't
guy.
Gerald Okamura.
Right, exactly, right.
It was just some other random Asian guy,
Yeah.
who, yeah. And I think they even mentioned it. Like, how many endings is this thing gonna have? It's
Right.
very meta. They
Yeah.
and that yeah. At that point, I was asking the same thing. I was like, what is going on now?
Right.
Can't two of you just go skinny dipping again or something?
Right.
That made more sense to me than this.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And the other thing, of course, about this is when we get to the end, we don't get a lot of Buff Bagwell. I think at this point he's gone, actually. I think he doesn't go upstairs with the other two guys, I don't think. He's
He had to probably go back to work at WCW because everybody else was injured. I don't
right.
know.
Exactly. Well, because I was thinking like the amount of Buff Bagwell we get in this movie is about the same proportion as you get in a Monday Night Nitro episode.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's him do his one wrestling event, maybe a interview with Mean Gene, and then that was it. That's what you get for the night of and of course he was splitting the time with Scott Steiner as well. So
True.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, we didn't get any Scott Steiner in here. That would have been
That's a shame.
yeah, yeah. I got him. I realized when I was kind of looking into Bagwell for this movie that I had kind of like combined Scott Steiner's stuff with like his ring routines with Buff Bagwell, because I was like, didn't Buff Bagwell say "holler if you hear me"? And it's like, no, that was Scott Steiner.
That's Big Papa Pump. Come on
Yeah,
now.
yeah. 30 years of
He'll
or
come
25
find
years.
you. He'll come find you and shove a Sharpie up your ass if you keep that type of stuff up.
Exactly.
Steiners don't play.
No, no. Good old Scott. Now, did he? I can't remember. Did he have a career in the WWE after
He
the?
did go there briefly.
Yeah,
And yeah, had like a feud with Triple H. He was there for maybe a year or two.
yeah.
Um, his nephew, Rick Steiner's son, is there now and is
Oh,
the Intercontinental Champion and is like amazing. He's just absolutely amazing. He runs like 25 miles an hour off those ropes.
does he?
They like
Right.
clocked it. Like it's insanity. He is as athletic as his father and uncle, and yeah, huge upside for him.
Wow, that is amazing. Because I can imagine, like, if they were training him as a kid, and he was like, "Yeah, I want to do this for a living." They were probably intense with training him. Like, it was
Yeah.
probably like, and probably when he like was showing that he could handle the intense training, they were like, "Oh, this is great." And they probably encouraged it. He just kind of went all for it.
Yeah, like they had a thing where, like, because now they've got a camera angle where it does look like a satellite view where that's above, and they had him just running around the ring, and like he caught a guy and just speared him, and it was a beautiful thing of beauty.
Yeah,
Yeah, he's gonna be he's a future champion of the world for sure.
Yeah, I think that would be, that's kind of cool. So yeah, I hadn't been catching as much lately. I kind of like to hear that, like someone like a Scott Steiner, that the next generation of Steiners are
Hmm.
kind of doing even better. I think that's what you want, right? Is you want,
Yeah, and
uh,
that's kind of the thing, like, because Rick was good, but Scott was the better talker, and it's like
yeah,
he got the best of both. Like he's everything. He can
yeah,
talk, he can do every. He's got a good look. I'm on board. I'm on
yeah,
board with. He's doesn't have the Steiner name, but they don't like hide from the Steiner that he's a Steiner either. So that's the weird.
right.
He's
Yeah,
Braun Breaker, but he's very good, and he chose the name. I know people don't believe that and think the evil corporation said no, this is your name,
right.
but I mean, and to their point, they do want to own the rights to the name, so that's why they do that stuff. But you know what? I think they're all going to make a lot of money, so who gives a shit what his name is?
Right, exactly. Yeah, well, because like the it like you said, like a lot of times the rest, like especially someone like him who's like a big up and comer, he could probably create his character a little bit more, and
Right.
sure there would be input, that Vince would, or whoever would have input, but
It's Triple
yeah.
H these days. Vince
Oh,
is
right.
out.
That's right. Yeah, because I remember another Boston radio show. I'm just talking about Boston sports radio. Where there's one who was he was a big WWF friend who was asking Triple H at like a press conference. 'Cause I guess one of the big wrestling events was in Boston a few years ago, or maybe it was
They
just
had
Raw.
they had Survivor Series. Yeah,
Okay,
they've had Raw, but yeah, I think Survivor Series 2 years ago was out of Boston.
that could be, yeah. And so because he's the producer on the radio show, so he could get a press pass to go, and
Right.
he was asking Triple H about how they develop their stories. And the thing that Triple H said, because he was like he was happy to answer the question, like frankly, which I was kind of surprised about. But the thing he said is that because you don't know if somebody's going to get injured, you can't do these stories so far out, because then you're screwed if somebody gets injured and you've got however many shows in the future mapped out like that. So
Hmm.
they kind of have to have contingencies in plan or
Right.
something like that. So yeah, Triple H, he went from getting chewed out by Bret the Hitman Hart's wife,
Julie Hart. Yeah.
Julie Hart, right, to now
Now
running
he's
things at
not running. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. That's again, you just you just gotta just to put your head down and just take it when she's yelling at you, and just
Hmm.
yeah, and that's good things will come, if you just take it. Yeah. Well, I guess at this stage, right? 'Cause I forgot, was there another twist? Did we see? No, we don't see Rodrigo Obregon again, right? He doesn't come back.
No, apparently he really did die,
Right.
and this guy had just been impersonating him all this time.
Yeah, yeah.
For
So
what reason, nobody really knows.
no, or yeah, because he didn't come back at the end to hang. No, he doesn't. He come back at the end because doesn't he sleep with uh Sophia, like at the very end when they all have their all like the we the successful drinking champagne all in the room together. Didn't we
Hmm.
find out that Obregon actually was alive, and
Maybe
he
he
was,
was. Yeah, was
yeah. I think he suddenly shows up and like, hey, I'm here, and then because Sophia has
that
a
is
thing
right.
for him, yeah, and yeah, because everybody has to get paired off at the end, right? You gotta,
Right.
yeah, everybody needs a couple. So except for
Hmm.
Gerald Okamura, because he's an old Asian guy,
He's got
he's
a big chair. He'll just go sit in it.
exactly right. He's perfectly fine not getting any, which is horrible for poor him.
Hmm.
Um, but everybody else gets to hook up at the end, and I can't remember if there's anything else. I mean, there's a lot of course, the plot exposition. You got to have the eye goggles on, because they start kind of tying all the loose ends together. So they kind of all start flying from all different places as everybody's talking about, whoa, this person did this, and can you believe this person was this, and yeah, and then it's like, okay, everything's sewn up and it's all good, and that's it. And yeah, and then they roll the credits, and I guess we're dying. I'm trying to think if there's anything we missed, because we kind of bounced around, but I'm trying to think if there's anything big that happened in this that we might have missed.
I don't think so.
Yeah, because it was they're really, I guess, yeah, because they're I mean, there's probably, I'm sure people listening will be like, well, what about this line, or what about this piece that
Right.
happens there?
Right.
But I think we got the bulk of them. I think we got, as much as we could get. I mean, again, like we said, like we said at the very beginning, right? It's boobs, plot exposition, explosions, and some kind of order like that, with the occasional slipping of a Mickey.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. A predicting the future.
Right. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And again, microwaves heating things up. Yeah. That you just, Sidaris has a basic formula that he worked with that was very successful. I mean, I know very maybe I'm going overboard with the very, but it was successful for sure.
I mean, again, we talked about it when we talked about American Ninja too. I mean, Canon had that. It's like every so many minutes there needs to be an action scene.
Yeah.
His was every so many minutes. I need some boobs on the screen, and then I need an action scene, and then yeah.
Yeah. Well, right, because it's almost like when Julie K. Smith and Shay Marks are starting to dig the treasure, it's almost like a clock dings in the background that we can't hear that says boob time. They're like, oh, hey, we need to go for that swim, and then they just,
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of like the same idea, like right, or PM, right? You got to have a chase or a fight
Car
every so
chase.
often.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, and that's part of the reason why Sidaris has so much plot exposition in his dialogue because he's got to cram in not only action sequences, but boobs and sex
Right.
scenes as well.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Only so much you can do in 90 minutes.
And yeah, and he does keep them short, which is good.
Yeah.
These movies don't need to be 2 hours long.
Right, right, exactly. And especially even this one, it's like kind of the last one, where you think like, okay, getting I want to fit everything in that I can. He still was able to keep himself reined in to some degree. And,
Mm-hmm.
I think this one would be 98 minutes. So it's like
Well,
about,
it could have been the accountant telling him,
right.
"You only
Yes,
have enough money
right.
for 90." And that's his mother-in-law too. So
Exactly, right. Yeah,
that's like a double. You don't want to piss this person off.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I wonder if do you think she does the passive aggressive thing? Do you think like she's like, like when he's saying like I need to blow up a Mercedes and he's like, "Oh, another Mercedes you got to blow up, huh?" So I guess we're not going to do that scene in Hawaii that we wanted to do with the women swimming in the water with the underwater cameras. What we
Right.
can't afford both. I mean, it's not that we can't afford both. It's just I mean, we're only, which one would you rather do if you had your druthers?
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
it's like
I
okay,
mean,
so
you got to believe that. I mean, his wife and this mother-in-law were very understanding women. I mean, because how do you pitch? Like, could you imagine?
right,
Hey, honey, I want to make movies. I know I'm a very successful wide world of sports. I'm doing the Olympics. I'm directing these major events. But you know what I really would like to do, honey, is get a bunch of Playboy playmates and make them actresses and have them be naked as often as possible. And I want to that's how I want to spend my days.
and what she says is only if you will let me be the producer. And
Yeah, I
yeah,
guess.
yeah,
I mean, like it had to make money. I mean, that's how you know it had to be somewhat successful because why would a wife put up with that crap? It's like okay, if it's this is going to buy you that giant chair, honey,
right,
and
yes,
that
right.
replica airplane that we could hang from the ceiling.
Well, because we know Penhall's wife didn't stand for it,
Right. See, yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. Not all, so Sedaris, he had the freaking dream. I mean, he had a
yeah,
very supportive wife, obviously a mother-in-law. I mean, how many guys like their mother-in-law?
right.
That's a
Well,
very
it's
low
accountant.
number.
That's like your
Yeah.
accountant while you're making, who's like saying, yeah, this is the budget that we have for
Mm,
yeah, yeah, and
yeah.
and allows herself to be slipped a Mickey in
Right. She was
from a
probably like,
lady.
I tried to get that Coke deal done, but they didn't want it, so we're just gonna have to say it's ginger ale.
Right, yeah, exactly.
Coke didn't want to do any product placement with us.
Right. Well, because yeah, I guess if this had been 10 years before, maybe like the AIP guys, it could have been New York Seltzer, right? That
Right.
was yeah,
Exactly.
yeah. So yeah,
Oh,
I know that this guy who does low budget movies in Australia, Nathan Hill, he was making a movie and he thought they were going to get sponsored by Red Bull, and they got all these crates of Red Bull, sent to them, but they were waiting for the money, and then they realized that they weren't getting money; they were just getting Red Bull. And so they were like, "Oh, wait, that's it." And they still had to put it in the movie. We were so I don't know if like with Deadly Prey or those kind of movies, if it was the same thing where it was like they weren't getting money, they were just getting New York Seltzer. Maybe with this movie, Sidaris is like, I don't want your New York Seltzer. Just if you're not giving me any money, then that's it. We'll just say it's ginger ale.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. He's been around the block a few times. He knows what these beverage companies are like. He knows.
Bastards.
Exactly. No, everybody's drinking ginger ale. There you go. How do you like that? I'll tell those New York Seltzer guys where to stick it. Well, yeah, I'm trying to think of anything. I guess as we're wrapping up here, Chris. Anything else about Sidaris or this movie or anything like that you wanted to mention?
No, I think we've covered it all and then some.
Yes, yeah. So, and considering, like you said, there wasn't much. We thought necessarily there wasn't much to cover. We got a good amount out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We
And we've got a new
covered more than
podcast
they
idea.
cover. I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
They don't cover up much of anything in this movie at times.
No, no. What was Eastman's line to Silk? You missed the target on your bikini or something, or you aimed a little
You
low.
aim low, yeah.
Yeah, because it was a little low on her breastises.
Mm-hmm. A lot
Yeah,
of cleavage.
right. So, yeah, like you said, yeah, even our male heroes were not all that well covered. I mean, Buff Bagwell was though. What were those the muumuus or whatever that he was wearing? Those
Yeah,
shirts.
it was surprising that he didn't have that shirt popped off more than he did.
Yeah, he was just like, I want to wear this like knockoff Versace thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, look like a Persian rug or something. The design of a Persian rug. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, it went with his hair, so I guess that's
Yeah, close to the wood.
exactly, exactly. Yes. Well, Chris, as we're wrapping up here, anything you want to plug?
Well, of course, I always welcome everyone to check out bulletproofaction.com. Like you had mentioned, we've been doing some interesting things there lately. My world's most dangerous columns. I'm really excited about those. They were inspired by the world's wildest police videos. And if anyone remembers that fantastic
Yes.
show, if you read what I write in Sheriff John Bonnell's voice, the things just come alive. The words just come alive in your mind. But yeah, we've got some stuff planned there. We're going to be celebrating Jean-Claude Van Damme's birthday in October. So with the best Van Damme week ever, which we haven't done for many years, but we will be doing that. And there's always something new over there. So check that out. And of course, the Bulletproof Podcast. You can find the link to the show on our site as well.
Excellent. Yeah, and on the podcast, one of your frequent co-hosts, Chris DiPetrillo, who works with Figures Toys. I don't know if he listens to my podcast, but I'm going to put in a plug. Chris, I went to the website. I saw the DC characters. I thought great. I want to pick up a Martian Manhunter, but if you really want those dollars, that American Ninja sets.
Yeah.
It's I'm there for the limited edition Curtis Jackson American Ninja 3 Shalom Y'all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. I
Every time, eventually he's just going to stop coming on the show because I think I bring up the Dudikoff figure every time he's on.
Right.
And call him a bastard. And and I'll just keep doing it until I get my way. Well, eventually, or if I just, I'd have to probably win the lottery. I think we've talked about that. Maybe if I won $1 bazillion, I'd be like, you're making this and I'm paying for it. So
Right.
get your shit together. And I would love it. I would love if I had that where we could make it and that thing like sold like hotcakes. And then I could be like, you motherfuckers, we could have been doing this 10 years ago.
Well, I think it would sell. I think there are a lot of people that like are into action stuff like we are, who if they go to Figures and they see, oh, Martian Manhunter, it'd be nice to have that, but if they see Joe Armstrong, I mean, I don't know if people still put credit cards in ice blocks to save them for rainy days, but I think people would be smashing the ice blocks they'd be emptying out the bank accounts to get those.
I mean, yeah, there's obviously a market for these things somewhere, but yeah, it's all about, can you reach them? And you never know. I know it's a risk, but I'm going to keep pestering them until I get my Michael Dudikoff figure.
Yeah, I think, when you think of the people who buy the vinegar syndrome, the Severin, I mean, I see them on Instagram. People like, oh, Severin's got these. I can't wait to get these from Severin. It's like, those action figures can kind of work into that market, and maybe you don't get, crazy six MVD or something, whatever it is that people are kind of, feel like I gotta get it because it's on there, maybe they don't get those I gotta get it kind of things, they only get like, okay, I'm gonna get the Cynthia Roth, the China O'Briens, yes, I'm definitely getting those, but maybe I don't need the, whatever, the Robo War or something like that. I'll get the Joe Armstrong instead.
I mean, yeah, like I know Shout did, or Scream Factory, well, they're one and the same. But yeah, I got like the Night of the Creeps.
Yeah.
With the Tom Atkins NECA figure. Like it was a bundle. Like, yeah. But that could be done with these boutique labels that are putting stuff out. I could have me a Dakota figure with different attachments for his hand.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, and I mean, yeah, I'm definitely a Richard Norton. I mean, I think that I mean, especially we got an election coming here. Richard Norton guarding the ballot boxes. I think
right.
It would be.
I mean, a nice
timely.
3-pack of Norton, China, and Dakota.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
All in denim.
Oh yeah, yeah. There are like the people that went out and bought. I would think the Venn diagram of people who bought the Vinegar Syndrome China O'Brien movies and the people who would buy those action figures. I believe that Venn diagram is a circle.
Yes.
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 Yeah.
If you're spending that much money on a stupid Blu-ray from a movies from decades ago,
right?
Yeah, if you said, "Oh, you know what? You want to spend 3 times that to also get these figures?" Well, yeah, I sure do.
Yes. Yeah. Because I know for me, it's just like especially like the Joe Armstrong. It's like, I've got my bobbleheads that, of course, those I get, they're complimentary. I don't want to say they're free because I still have to pay to go to the baseball game to get them, or the sporting event. But, they're complimentary. The Joe Armstrong would go perfect with those bobbleheads. I would just, I'd pay whatever, again, whatever the cost was for the Martian Manhunter or whatever the superpowers ones, which they looked great. I will say they looked fantastic. But it's like when I see those, I'm like, that's another sporting event or something. It's like something else. Whereas like Joe Armstrong, it's like, no, that's
right. I don't need groceries that week. I'll buy that.
Exactly.
I'll buy the entire set of the Canon classics. Give them all to me. Yeah, come on.
Yes. Yeah, I could live off microwave pizza for a couple of weeks. That's,
right.
Yeah. Exactly. Well, I know, if it comes up, again, if Chris, I don't know if he listens to, but if you mentioned, if you mention again, let him know that I think there's a market for these. I think,
I'm going to.
Yeah, I shouldn't say I think. I know, just
because
there's people that listen to my podcast, that listen to your podcast, that listen to Comeuppance, whatever, those podcasts. Like, people wouldn't be listening to those podcasts if they weren't going to buy Joe Armstrong action figures. That's my belief.
Right. I'm with you. I'm with you.
Well, hopefully, and hey, if he starts to get a little frisky, we could do a Sidaris line of action figures. Yeah. I don't know. Does it cost more to make them more well endowed? I don't know how that works. I don't know.
I don't. Yeah.
Yeah. Is it more plastic that you've got to add on?
If you turn them upside down, do the bikinis disappear? I don't know.
Right. Exactly. Well, maybe that's a great place to leave it. Yeah. Thank you again, Chris, for coming on. This was a great conversation.
Oh, you're quite welcome.
All right. Excellent. Well,
always enjoy being here. Always enjoy.
Sorry about that. Yes, no, I always a great time. I think this movie was kind of perfect for this conversation for sure. Excellent. Thank you everybody for listening, and we'll be back soon. Bye everyone.